You know, it's serious. I've got my hat on backwards.
All right.
You know, it's super serial right now. I came in today. I was walking in. I'm like, geez, I look like a skateboarder from the 80s.
Yes, sir.
Which is nice.
You just need your boom box, dude.
Oh, give me some cardboard and a boombox. You guys better watch the blank out. Nobody should take your cereal. I tried to give Bell some beef jerky today.
Yeah?
He's like, I can't, man. It's got sugar in it.
8 grams of carbs, and it was all sugar.
I just said, you're a woman. It's going to go to my hips.
Gonna go straight to my thighs.
It's going to go right to my hips, boys. You don't want that. You'll not see me in this situation.
It's gonna make my thighs fat.
Oh, they're going to rub together. If I wore corduroy, we'd start a fire.
You know, the next time that you need me to come rescue you from a bad situation and I can't run because of all the fatty bad food
You don't go
fed
anywhere.
me.
Where would you be? You never go out with us.
That is an absolute lie. I went out with you last Thursday.
But you don't go out to clubs where I'm going to be attacked by somebody. You wouldn't come out with us last week.
No, I'm not doing it. I'll go out with you. I'm not going out on station business.
Well, why would I be in it? What kind of fight do you think I'm going to get into? You better watch out.
With you, you just never know.
You never know, kids. You never know. Hey, real quick, Ken, where is that immigration kids school bill thing at? I know, are they meeting today? Is that what I get?
Yeah, what happened is the bill allows school districts the option of refusing to enroll students whose families cannot prove their citizenship. So it passed out of an education subcommittee today to the full House Education Committee. So it's advancing.
Okay. Again.
Now, and here's the thing. It's a choice. Like school districts would not be
They're
mandated.
not forced to.
Yeah, they're not forced to. It would give them the option of doing that, but also charging tuition.
See, that's where it comes. There's got to be money around, like how you would go about doing that. Like,
Well, the whole point of the bill, from talking to some of the Congress people up on the Hill, is that they want to try to get the lawsuit going so they can get it back in front of the Supreme Court to see if the Supreme Court, with its conservative slant, will say, no, you don't have to educate illegals in this country now.
Yeah, I think they're going to look right at that and say, it's never getting to us. You're going to have to. As kids are here, that's not their choice. You could put them in school. The one thing I do think is interesting, though, is some schools are saying, hey, we don't have the money, and we've got 8 kids that speak English and 30 that don't in this classroom.
Yeah.
And that's tough. And that's one of the reasons our scores are so great always, is because it's hard when you look at a teacher and you say, wow, why aren't you doing better? I don't know, because I spent half my day dealing with a bunch of kids who don't speak English as a first language, and half of them don't even speak each other's languages.
And the teacher took French in high school.
Yeah, the teacher took, because they thought, I'll never need French. My grandfather, to this day, I'm still mad at him because we wanted to learn Spanish when we were kids, and my grandma's like, yeah, you know, and my grandma's like, no, they speak English. And I'm like, because it would be great. I tell my kids, learn Chinese, all right? What your masters are going to be, you need to learn. So some Mandarin.
You want to know what the guards are saying when you're trying to figure out how to escape.
Oh, so we'll talk a little bit about that. The Thomas Massey thing, the whole CR thing, and I'm fine with Thomas Massey voting no on this, continuing resolution. And there's a bit of hypocrisy in a lot of this stuff, and I know they want to get it by, but as Chris and I were talking about, Thomas Massey, this is one guy, like, this is what he does. Well, he always votes no. Yeah. And by the way, if you guys care, if you guys think about any of this stuff, you do realize that essentially U.S. aid is funded through this. So if the continuing resolution goes on, the U.S. aid will get its money at what it got its money at last year, which is very frustrating. Yes, I saw Burgess said, look, it cuts $7 billion. It adds some money to a couple places, takes some money away. It's better than nothing. But the reality is here's my anger with all this. Pass a damn budget when you're supposed to. Pass a bill when you're supposed to. When was the last time we passed one on time?
20 years ago?
That's a good question.
Was it 20 years ago?
It was like 20 years ago, yeah.
If only there was a machine that we could look at that would tell us those. Does anybody have a machine like that in there?
No, ours are all broke down.
I expect that.
Well, it's because they didn't pass a budget on time. Yeah, 1996.
There you go. So
I was off by like 6 years.
off by yeah. God, that is so sad. I know some of you thought, well, that's only 19 years ago. No. You got to go to the 90s. It's like crazy. It's 29 years ago?
And that's a constitutionally required activity. And they just go,
It's required. They're like, you got to do this. And they're like, maybe we will, maybe we won't. What are you guys going to do? Nothing, apparently. Nothing.
you're not going to vote us out. You're afraid to do that. You go in and it's a popularity contest.
That's exactly that's the problem. That's the problem. And you're thinking to yourself, well, hold on a second. 96, you start thinking Clinton. He's thinking, well, the contract with America, things seem to be going okay. Like, how could you guys got that done? Why wasn't it done since then? Because things seem to be all right.
Wasn't part of the reason that Johnson was able to obtain the speakership was that he agreed to get back to regular order?
Yeah.
And he still hasn't done it?
No, because you can agree anything. The problem is nobody else has to agree with you.
Well, yeah, but he's the speaker. He can demand that bills go to the floor in a certain fashion.
Yeah, but you've got just because bills go to the floor in a certain fashion doesn't mean they're going to pass. And trying to get 100 bills to the floor that you know are going to fail isn't going to help you along the way. But the whole thought of I'm going to come after Thomas Massie, and that's what Trump did today, with the whole Truth Social.
With House Democrats vowing to withhold their support, Republicans can only afford a single defection. And Vice President Vance heads to Capitol Hill today to rally Republicans. Kentucky Congressman Thomas Massie, who's a frequent no vote on continuing resolutions, says he'll vote against this one, too. Overnight, President Trump called Massie a grandstander who should be primaried. If the spending bill does pass the House, it'll be up to Doge-wary Democrats in the Senate to decide whether to block it with a filibuster.
And he compared him to Liz Cheney. Come on, for God's sakes. This guy, you know what he is? He's all he's asking you to do is actually just pass the bill on time.
It's shocking. He expects you to do your job.
Yeah.
Oh,
and
wow.
he was, when it came to COVID, the guy stood there and said, nah, we're not handing out checks. I don't want to do this stuff. When it came to a lot of things, free speech, he's a big winner on free speech. He's gone against the Republicans. He's at Tesla. He's the first one, like I said earlier. He's the first one to buy a Tesla. He and Musk get along. There's a lot of things about him that I'm sure are annoying. There's always been these fiscal hawks, And when you go to the Senate, what do you think? Rand Paul's just going to usher this thing through? It's frustrating, but when you decide, hey, you know what? I'm going to come after you. You can't do that on every single no vote. And I know you don't want to be the one to say, it's on your watch, because let's be real. You can't look at the Democrats and say this is all on you. You can't.
And in fairness, Massie has been a huge supporter of Trump in the big
massive
picture.
supporter of Trump.
So
And
for
when I
Trump
was
to kind of kick him like that's a little disingenuous.
Yeah, and to compare him to Liz Cheney, I thought that was that's Trump. It's an overreaction, as he tends to do. No hyperbole with him. But I was online, and I go and I check and see what everybody's saying, in different places. I was surprised at how many, even MAGA influencers and supporters were like, nah, I'm standing with Massie on this. And if you believe in, not only passing bills on time, but if you also believe that I don't want to fund USAID, that's what this basically does back to 2024. So this would fund some of that. If you think there's all this waste, you guys can only cut $7 billion from it. I get why the Democrats are going to vote for it, because it's the same reason if the Republicans weren't in the catbird seat, that the Republicans wouldn't vote for it. I get that. But this feels like, ugh. And you know what? It's also not his fault that there's not 20 Republicans majority, because you ran a bunch of wackadoos across the country who ended up losing. And because of that, you don't have a massive majority.
If congressional Democrats refuse to support this clean CR, they will be responsible for every troop who misses a paycheck, for every flight delay from reduced staffing at TSA, for every negative consequence that comes from shutting down the government.
Nah. Got to get this done. And like I said, I'm not a fan of CRs. I think they're silly. We kick the can. We can't ever get it done. We go from one side of the sidewalk to the other side of the sidewalk with these things. We never get them done the way we should. And there's too much pork and too much junk in there. And it's time we take a look and say, okay, why can't we pass it? And who else? Because he's not the only no. Because there's a couple. That's why. Because if it was only one, and I think they have a four seat lead right now. Because there was a Democrat that passed away. I don't know who that was.
I think, didn't Burchett say he wasn't too keen on voting for it?
But he said he would because it cuts. There's cuts in it for the first time ever. But it's $7 billion. It's not like, oh, we cut $700 billion in this. There is some cuts. And I do think they'll get it across the line. I just thought, even, Johnson, who, let's be real, the speakership is a tough place to be when it's this close. And he went out and said, look, I am in the business of trying to keep the majority. And we shouldn't be going after each other. But no, we need to get this thing across the line.
We'll have the votes. We're going to pass the CR. We can do it on our own.
Then do it. Now, just because you guys passed it doesn't mean that the Senate's going to usher it through. And that's where the whole thing is kind of a little unnerving for the likes of, because Schumer is not a definite no.
But the thing is if they choose to filibuster it in the Senate, Johnson can still step up and go, hey, we did our job. It's the Democrats in the Senate that are blocking this. The Republicans passed a budget. We sent it over there, and now they're playing games.
Yeah. Well, that's it. Yeah. Well, yeah, because you put it over there and you because they're worried about, look, if you're worried about Massey, you should be worried about Rand Paul.
They're literally two sides of the same coin in different houses.
Yeah. Different and same place. So, Kentucky and Kentucky.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about
that's
that.
That's right. There's a lot of stuff going on in that bluegrass state. But stop with we're going to go and primary everybody that doesn't go along, because I don't think that does anybody any good. And he's got a lot of support. And you know what's very interesting, too, about him? And I've got friends who've been in Congress and who've been senators, and they all to a person say, man, there's about 4 or 5 of those guys you can count on one hand who will resist foreign money, because he's very libertarian more than he is a conservative. Which is great. One person just texted in and said, I don't think one of these blankers should get a check until they pass something. Wouldn't that be great? How about you guys pass it, then you get a check? How about you do your job, then you get a check? If everybody else has to work and you still get paid while the government shuts down. And let's not forget this. Everybody who's a conservative out there, how many people who are conservative have said when the Democrats were in power, screw it, let the government shut down. We don't care. Let's see what it's like. Well, maybe it's time to get a taste. We're going to find out. A lot of stuff still to get to today. Is there a big plan with the economy that people aren't thinking about? We're going to talk about that. We got a bunch of other stuff to get to as well, because the economy is important. And one of the reasons why the whole manufacturing idea sounds great, but in reality, probably isn't going to work the way that people want it to work in the time they want it to work. We'll talk about that as well. This is Super Talk 99.7. Bulwark Capital, the market, unsteady indeed. What are you doing with your retirement? Next Thursday, my buddy, Zach Abraham, Chief Investment Officer at Bulwark Capital, is giving a once-over, as he does like once a month. And right now, a special one of the first 100 days of Trump and his presidency, where things are going, geopolitical issues in the market when it comes to certain just sectors themselves, and where he thinks we're going in 2025. Doesn't cost anything. It is a free webinar. It is at 5:30 our time, 3:30 Pacific. Sign up today at knowyourriskradio.com. I send my family there. I send everybody I know there. I love him, and he's like family to me. He's incredible, and you will love what he offers you. Lower risk, lower cost, lower volatility, most upside potential. That's what Bulwark's all about when it comes to your investments and your retirement. Check out everything they do today at knowyourriskradio.com. That's KNOW, yourriskradio.com. Sign up for their free live webinar next Thursday, 5:30 our time, 3:30 Pacific for some of you streaming out there. That is knowyourriskradio.com. Investment advisory services offered through Trek Financial LLC and SEC registered investment advisor. Investments of all risks, not a guarantee. Past performance, not guarantee future results. Trek 25137.
Tennessee lawmakers advancing a bill that gives school districts choices when it comes to enrolling undocumented immigrant students. And look, Mom and Dad, TikTok has new features coming up at 12:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Oh, new features.
Man, I am so glad we grew up when we did, because we'd have never gotten away with anything.
What the hell happened to TikTok going away? They didn't divest?
No. They keep
Trump?
kicking it to the curb. It's another giant hypocrisy thing. I mean, it's if you're gonna go and say it should go away, it's all evil and bad, and then when it does, people whine and moan. You're like, we should save it. It just makes me go, what the hell are you people doing? And by the way, the people that are saying, "Oh, you guys are the worst," have you seen the latest? And this one, I thought Tide Pods were stupid. Have you seen the latest?
No.
They're eating those packing popcorn things.
Oh, my.
Because they're biodegradable.
They're made of starch, cornstarch.
They're biodegradable, so there's no calories and stuff in them, so they're
Throw
fine.
some popcorn salt on them. They're awesome.
Would you do it? Well, no, hold on. It might have a carb.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
That'll probably go to your butt.
It
We don't want
would.
that.
It's not might. It does have carbs. It's pure carbs.
It'll give you a big butt.
And you cannot lie. Just insane. What is this? This is why. When I see people do this, I think this is why. When I open a lid, right? When I open a lid, it says, "Hey, don't eat it." Like, because that was it. Who did that? A baby? Well, the baby can't read.
Yeah.
It's amazing. The fact that we have to have stuff everywhere that says, "Don't do this" or "Don't do that." What is wrong with you people? Who are you people? I mean, I did dumb stuff as a kid. Right? Like Belle and I, we jumped off houses, stuff. That's like boy stuff. You know what I didn't do? Go, hey, You think you can? You think you could eat that couch?
Yeah.
No. What's the dumbest thing you've ever done?
The dumbest
That's a long
thing I
list,
ever
isn't it?
did.
Like regular kid boy. I can't believe I did that and lived thing.
Holding firecrackers after you lit them.
Oh yeah.
It wasn't anything that that would have killed me, but it probably could have put me in juvenile lockup. I've told the story before, but a neighbor of mine across the street, whenever his dad would go out of town, he would grab his hunting bow.
Yeah.
And then we would go outside. I lived at the top of a hill, and the street went down, and we had all the younger kids go down to the bottom of the street. Then we would shoot arrows in the air, and they would scatter and hide from them.
It's good old days.
Which, had one of them landed right, it would have killed them instantly.
Well, it's a little bit of fun.
I'm lucky I'm still here because my parents bought me lawn darts.
Oh,
I should be dead.
Oh, yeah, that. But I had friends who, I didn't have, like, dirt bikes, but I had friends who had dirt bikes. And, I mean, man, we were doing Evel Knievel stuff.
As you should be. As you should be.
Yeah, it was, I was a fraidy cat. I wasn't going to do it, but I sure didn't enjoy watching my friends do it.
Oh, I did all
They were
kinds of
good
stupid
at it.
stuff. Man, I tell you what. Like lawn darts were great though.
Yeah, lawn darts were fun.
My kids are just fascinated by the fact that they gave us weapons to throw at each other to play tic-tac-toe.
Yeah.
Dude, you go over there. And by the way, like 2 minutes in, we're like, I'm just going to throw it at you and see what happens. We used to play, this is my family. I'm sure most of your families out there listening because we grew up in a different time. I had BB guns. We all had BB guns. What were we told? Okay, you can shoot them at each other, but no face.
Yeah. Don't shoot him in the face.
And only 5 pumps.
Right.
Right? Because you didn't want to do 10.
Yeah, anything over 5 would really, really hurt.
Yeah.
It could break the skin.
Yeah. And you don't want that because then mom's going to be mad.
Yeah.
It's
Dude, I had friends with those pump pellet guns that they'd kill you.
Oh, yeah.
You could get them pumped up enough where they would penetrate.
Yeah, man. We would just have so much fun with it. We'd come in and we'd look like we had the measles, chicken pox all over our legs. It was great. We didn't whine or moan. But, God, nowadays, it's just insane. Now you're like, hey, we should just, we should eat some, those things that you pop, the wrap stuff. I'm going to try to eat those. It's going to be great. Then we'll put it on the internet.
We used to actually get on our bikes, and there would be a set of us on bikes. There'd be a set with BB guns, and you tried your best to avoid being hit by somebody shooting at you because you're a moving target.
Yeah.
It was hilarious.
It was great.
It was fun to be scared like that.
Somebody said
that was fun.
it made you feel alive.
It
did. Somebody said I ate a stick of butter because my sister dared me to. So you ate a stick of butter. It's in the 50s, what was it? Like they would try to get into the phone booth?
Yeah, they'd pack everybody into a phone booth or into a little car.
Or they swallow a goldfish. Which ended up being sushi, which is now some sort of delicatessen.
There were times after my grandfather died that I would go stay with my grandmother, and we were the only 2 people in the house, and she would leave the butter out on her kitchen table, and I would go in, stick my finger in it, eat a big chunk of butter, and then she'd get up after I did because I'd be there watching cartoons, and she'd be like, "Did you stick your finger in the butter?" "Oh, no, ma'am. No, I would never do that." There's nobody else in the house, and I'm lying through my teeth, and she knows I'm lying through my teeth, but I'm still denying it.
That's good. That's a smart thing to do, right? Plausible deniability. In theory, you did not see me do it. Oh, my Lord.
You didn't see it. It didn't happen.
Jerry, if you believe it, it's not a lie.
That's right. If you tell the lie loud enough, long enough, Grandma's going to believe it. That's what we're knowing. And nobody believes Grandma anyways because she's out whacked. My grandma, I used to get my great-grandmother to let me drive. I remember coming home one day, and I parked, and my mom saw me, and I'm like, oh, my God, my grandma's like, we let Chad drive. She's like, he's 14.
Yeah.
6173 says his brother still has a BB in his hand to this day.
Really? And I bet he's fine with that.
I think I still have some number 2 pencil lead in me.
No, of course. That's what made us strong.
Yeah, it taught us tough lessons.
Yeah. Well, you knew what not to do.
Right.
And at the same time, you also knew that, you know what, you weren't going to die from everything.
Not everything.
Not everything.
Especially if you were lucky.
Yeah.
And back when we were kids, too, you were required to have a sharp, pointy object for math class called a compass.
Oh, God, yeah.
And we would stick each other with those things constantly.
Remember when they let you cut the paper?
Yes.
Right?
Oh, with the big
giant
machete.
What were you thinking? Nowadays, you could never do that. Like, this thing could come off.
No.
Oh, goodness me. So much fun. Coming up, we got a lot of stuff still to talk about. Make sure you grab our podcast. Check out all of our social media. We got Twitch. We got Twitter. We got YouTube. We've got Facebook, Pinterest, Friendster, Snapchat. We got MySpace. Yeah, you got that. You got carrier pigeons coming out to everybody. It's the Chad Benson Show, Super Talk 99.7.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast in 5 minutes. And right now in Tennessee, a bill that allows school districts to enroll or refuse to enroll undocumented immigrant students is advancing. Made it out of the House K-12 Education Subcommittee and referred to the full House Education Committee. Critics say it runs counter to a 1982 Supreme Court decision that guarantees every child, no matter their citizenship status, access to a public education. President Trump has doubled tariffs on Canadian steel and aluminum in retaliation for Canada raising tariffs on electricity. It provides 1.5 million Americans in Minnesota, New York, and Michigan. It comes as White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt just announced Trump's going to be speaking to a group of CEOs today.
Later today, President Trump will address the Business Roundtable's quarterly meeting, where he will tout his pro-growth economic agenda and answer questions before more than 100 of our nation's leading CEOs.
Reports say some of those CEOs kind of nervous about the tariffs. 5 years after COVID-19 was officially labeled a global pandemic, there's still a lot about the virus we don't know, says Sherry Preston.
Since March 11, 2020, when COVID was first deemed to be a pandemic, more than 1.2 million Americans have died from it. The numbers, however, might be a lot higher. Duke University School of Medicine's Dr. Cameron Wolfe says COVID could also have been a factor in things like heart attacks, dehydration, and even falls.
It's hard to determine if the ultimate trigger that led to their passing was COVID. And separating someone who died with COVID from someone who died because of COVID can be really challenging.
Globally, COVID deaths number more than 7 million.
Look, Mom and Dad, TikTok has something new.
New TikTok features allow parents to limit the amount of time their kid spends on the popular social media app. They also provide more information about who's following their child on the platform. It marks an expansion of TikTok's existing family pairing feature, which links the app on a child's smartphone to their parents. Last year, the Justice Department sued TikTok over its policies around underage users. TikTok says the new features are designed to help teens develop the digital literacy skills they need.
That's Mike Dubusky and the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Busy Bee is who you need to call. When things go south, your HVAC, your plumbing, Busy Bee, one and done. They could do it all. First and foremost, when you call them, you're like, hey, I'd like to join the Beehive Club because it's A, famous, and B, you want to be let in the club, right? You don't want to not be, you don't want to be that person that shows up at the club and they're like, your name's not down, you're not coming in. The Busy Bee, folks, will take care of you with that. And the reason it's so important is not only going to get a discount, but on top of all of that stuff, when things are going south, and usually when they go south, it's not at the right time, other people may be in front of you, but if you're part of the club, to the top you go. That's important. Whether you need a change of your HVAC, maybe you need your air ducts cleaned, maybe you've got issues with any of your plumbing, whether it's just like, hey, it's running really slow. They got a camera, check it out, right? Like, see what's going on down there. Maybe you got issues with, there's a leak somewhere. Busy Bee is there for you across the board. They're not going to sell you anything crazy. They're going to take care of you. An entire crew out there is amazing. So join the Famous Beehive Club today. Call them 775-7833, 775-7833, or visit busybhvac.com. The market, I repeat, the market. Down 726 right now, give or take. By the time I said that, it was probably down a little bit more or up a little bit. What's going on? The economy, stupid. Still the only thing that matters. I heard from a bunch of you yesterday. You said, yeah, it's the only thing that matters. I mean, we can worry about all the other stuff. But, man, if you can't get that economy straightened out, ooh, it's tough.
And if you do have a great economy, a lot of other stuff is very forgivable.
Very forgivable. Very forgivable. What is going on? Why are we in tariff wars? There's a lot of questions. Depends on who you ask. Larry Summers talking about tariff wars. Smart guy.
Do you think we're headed for a recession?
We're on the real possibility of it. I would have said a couple months ago that a recession was really unlikely this year. Now it's probably not 50-50, but it's getting close to 50-50. And there's one central reason, which is that we've had economic policies that have been completely counterproductive. All of this emphasis on tariffs and all of the ambiguity and uncertainty created about tariffs.
Which is a big deal. Larry's a smart guy, right? Worked in the government a long time, big-time economist. I mean, this is a Harvard guy. He's a smart cat and was a Treasury Secretary. There is uncertainty. And are we prepared for a battle? That's the question that people need to ask themselves. Because everybody says, yeah, I'm willing to. Like, let's do it. But are you, because where's your expiration date? As far as, I'm going to give it time because I believe in this. But if you could have it done by July 1st, that'd be super. That's the question that people are going to have as this battle for the economy goes on. Because as Bell said, everything else is forgivable. It's the winning thing. We always go back to this, man. Your locker room could be a nightmare. Nobody could get along. You win 5 championships in a row. Nobody cares about that. When you start losing, everything comes out. Everything does.
All of this emphasis on tariffs has ironically both chilled demand, made businesses not invest, made consumers think they should hold off before making big spending commitments. And usually when you do something like that, prices go down. But this time when people are worried they're not going to be able to get supplies in the future or not be able to get supplies without paying big tariffs, prices actually go up.
Which is not what people want. And Trump said it over the weekend, while some of his other, cronies and people inside of the cabinet are like, nah, we're not really worried about a recession or not. He didn't say recession so much, but...
Let me stay on the economy for a moment, because there are rising worries about a slowdown. You've got the Atlanta Federal Reserve saying we're going to have a contraction in the first quarter. Look, I know that you inherited a mess, and you said that the other night.
I've only been here,
but are you expecting a recession this year?
I hate to predict things like that. There is a period of transition, because what we're doing is very big. We're bringing wealth back to America. That's a big thing. And there are always periods of, it takes a little time. It takes a little time. But I think it should be great for us. I mean, I think it should be great.
I hope so. I mean, I want every president to succeed. Period. Case closed. I want them to succeed. Now, there's 2 thoughts. I was talking to a couple of my buddies about this yesterday. And one thought is why the battle is going the way it is, what he's doing. A lot of people have questions. You use tariffs and certain things as a negotiating point. That's understandable. You do those things. But there's another theory out there, another thesis, and we were discussing it yesterday, a couple of buddies of mine who are in the investment industry, that Trump is hoping the market tanks a bit. And the reason for that is, well, first of all, it's already overbought. So let's be honest about, we need some settling. But the quicker that things slow down, the more that people flee to bonds with money, the more that the market slows down, the more the Fed is willing to start to lower rates. The quicker that rates can drop, the quicker that we can refinance our debt and start to get out from under the ridiculousness of what we're servicing, which is very interesting. He wanted to do that in his last term. He wanted to, and a lot of people gave him flack for that. Now, do I think that's what's happening? No. I mean, I don't, because there's too many forces at work that you don't have control over. There's just too many forces. But this lady, Batya Unger-Sargon, talks about the whole manufacturing thing, where she thinks that he is really running and going with things, and where he thinks America is going to be and pushing towards this is what we are doing here. This is all about the future and how great it's going to be.
Donald Trump has done an amazing thing. He turned the GOP into the party of the working class, and working class voters love tariffs because they make their labor more rewarding for them. They get the American working class higher wages, which they can then use in the marketplace to compete against elites and to actually achieve the American dream. President Trump is teaching a generation of Republicans and business leaders how to build an amazing economy that will lift all boats, that will lift working class people as well as the stock market, and that will give the GOP a ruling majority for years and years to come. An economy based on love of country that will make America into the powerhouse of manufacturing, the superpower that it used to be. And I cannot get over the chutzpah of these business leaders sitting there whining about their quarterly reports while President Trump teaches them how to build an economy based on love of country and love of your neighbor. We should be listening and watching and saying thank you rather than whining and moaning.
That all sounds great, except for to rebuild the manufacturing sector it'd take about 10 years to 15 years. You know what we are? We're a nation that likes you to stock them deep and sell them cheap. That's it. Stock them deep, sell them cheap. We don't have time for that. Trump doesn't have time for that because we're a fickle nation, and we will turn in a heartbeat if we think things are going to go south. And several of you have chimed in about your expiration date. Some of you talked about your death date, which was really bizarre, the fact that you knew the exact date you were going to die. That's a shame you're dying around Christmas. But the reality is we all have, it's like if you're there and you're talking to the people and you're telling them why they're doing this, but people they're not going to go, we're going to give you 4 or 5, 6, 8 years to fix the economy. It didn't happen overnight. Inflation, and I don't care what they're spinning. I listened to Whoopi earlier. Somebody sent me this, and I just laughed. My producer sent me this about how great the economy was under Biden.
This helped send the market into free fall yesterday, which some MAGA folks are blaming on the Biden economy.
Oh, boy.
So let me just remind you about the Biden economy, okay? The economy added 16.6 million jobs, and gross domestic product grew 12.6. They are the only administration in history to have created jobs every single month.
Yes.
They achieved...
Actually, let's go back to the jobs. Everybody here is shaking their head because the COVID jobs don't count. Telling people they can go back to work after you told them they couldn't work doesn't give you the opportunity to say, look at the jobs I created. And when they did revise the jobs, they were down 1 million last year.
Every time that they had a jobs report, every single month they revised it down.
You have to give Trump time. I'm 100% believer in that. And I'm willing to look at the macro and the micro. Most people don't have that time. Rick Scott was actually asked about this, Senator, about like, hey, what's the, you got people living paycheck to paycheck. I see where you're going with it. If you're not living paycheck to paycheck, you can go, oh, yeah, that's great. I could see where you're going with this. If you are living paycheck to paycheck and you're hoping to see a drop in prices and a strengthening of the economy and an uptick in your wages, and they're telling you, hold on a minute, it's going to come, that's tough for people to wrap their heads around.
President Trump has acknowledged that there's going to be a little disturbance due to his economic policies. How bad is this disturbance going to be, and how long is it going to last?
Donald Trump walked in with a crappy economy. The number of full-time jobs have been dropping almost the entire Biden administration. This is a lot of work. Now, manufacturing jobs are coming back. That had not been happening under Biden. That's a big deal. The number one thing is we got to get American manufacturing back into this country. So I'm very optimistic that we're going to get this done. Now, is it work to balance the budget? Yeah, it's work.
They're never coming back the way that you think they're coming back. They're just not. They're not going to come back that way because we still want cheap. And the thing is, the fear is, what if we start bringing stuff back here, but if wages don't rise with it, then what? Because we are a consumer-based nation. What's driven our economy isn't creating stuff. It's purchasing stuff. It is creating the ideas and then fostering them out to many other places to build those things and then to bring some of that stuff back here and we buy them cheaper. That's what has driven this last renaissance of the economy, and then throwing a ton of money at the stock market is also something that's happened.
Senator Rick Scott, your constituents that are living paycheck to paycheck, how long is this disturbance going to last?
The disturbance is the 20% inflation under Biden, the fact there's no full-time jobs. So it's already changing. We're already adding full-time jobs. We've already added 10,000 manufacturing jobs just last month. I'm very optimistic it's going to happen very quickly.
Okay. I mean, inflation was high, but it was not 20%.
It wasn't 20% per item. There were some items that were up that. But inflation, when you just like compound interest, which is the greatest thing in the world, it's the same thing with inflation, right? So if you go buy something and it was, $1 last year and it's $1.20 now or $1.10, well, it's only up 10%. But if I have a bunch of those, you start adding that up and all of a sudden it's gone up 15 or 20 or 30% compared to what I was spending last year for the same stuff. We'll see. If you've got the money to withstand it and we go into a downturn, I don't think it's going to be a big one. And I don't think these things are going to last. These trade wars are going to last as long as people think. But, the question I have for all of you out there, and you can text the program, we'd love to hear from you, is do you have an expiration date? Can you do 6 months or a year of this before you get frustrated if inflation continues to stay strong and, we have issues in a downturn in the market? I don't think that's going to happen because I think that we're going to get out of this quicker than people realize. But there's definitely some worry. for sure. And it's the economy, stupid. We say it all the time here. Coming up, a little COVID talk. You know, it was 5 years ago today, the World Health Organization came out and goes, COVID is a pandemic. Remember that? Yeah, 5 years ago today. We'll talk a bit about that. A bunch of other things still to get to. It's Chad Benson Show, Super Talk 99.7. Raycon, best earbuds around. Wear my Raycons every single day and still have not plugged them in for my trip. So my everyday earbuds are 8 hours of talk time, 32 hours of battery life. They're fantastic. I love them. I wear them every day because I do so much editing and do so many other things. Multi-connectivity, fit and feel second to none. And I was telling my wife the other day, so we're traveling and, you know, I want to try to get, try to get a little nap in here or there. Active noise cancellation. Put them on, put it on the active noise cancellation. I didn't hear a thing. It was so nice being on a plane, even with the kids and the engines. It was just so quiet. If you love great sound, great fit and feel, these are the earbuds for you. And they're for me, and I wear them every single day. Get yours now. Go to buyraycon.com/Chad. 30-day happiness guarantee and 20% off right now. Buyraycon.com/Chad.
The White House just rattled off a number of positives, they say, are from President Trump's tariffs, and many questions remain 5 years after COVID was declared a pandemic. All this and more. One on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
5 years after the lockdown.
I'm stealing your thunder here.
The mask mandates and the distrust of the medical system, the way many ordinary Americans treat healthcare workers is one of the lasting effects of the pandemic, says nurse practitioner Lisa Olson-Gugerty at Syracuse University.
I see lots of my fellow colleagues exhausted and tired, and there's still that presence of the public denying COVID.
She says the nation's healthcare system is still not what it once was.
I never ever treated anybody who worked at a healthcare facility bad, and I didn't ever think that COVID wasn't real. Other people, I know there's some people out there that buy that. They buy all kinds of stuff. Did you ever treat anybody bad? Like, I hate you.
Never.
Nurse. It's like, what? She or he didn't do anything. I mean, the distrust comes not from the people working at the facilities, but from the people at places like the FDA, the NIH, the CDC, all of these places. That's where the distrust comes from. People who decided they got into medicine so they could get into politics and become political around healthcare, not actual doctors anymore or healthcare people. And that's the issue. It was 5 years ago today. And there's a distrust, too, because the government lied on numerous occasions. The government also just did as governments tend to do, poor jobs. How many times do we see them come out and go, you can't do this or you can do this now, and it would be on the website, and 5 minutes later somebody else come out and go, you can't do that.
Yeah.
We lied. We took that down.
Yeah. I like how it was okay to wear your mask as long as you're... No, it was okay to not be wearing your mask as long as you're not sitting at your table.
Yeah, what was it?
Is that right?
Yeah, like you could go to dinner.
You could go to dinner, but you had to keep the mask on walking to the
Yeah,
table.
that
But
was
then when
it.
you got to the table,
Yeah.
you could take the mask off because COVID can't get out of the bubble they put around the table.
Right, that's it. That was
It was so bizarre. And God, was the mayor,
man.
Garcetti, the mayor of Los Angeles, when he took the pictures and he was telling everybody, I would hold my breath, take a picture, and then put my mask back on. You said that out loud, you're an idiot.
Oh.
He didn't inhale either. Oh, I'm sorry, wrong person.
What I loved was college basketball games.
Oh.
The coach would take his mask off to scream in the kid's face, and then when he was done, put the mask back on.
Yeah. I mean, it was so bizarre. The whole thing was weird. Do you still go into places like, I don't know if you guys had to hear where they had, like, for the supermarkets, they'd have arrows going this way.
Yes.
And then they'd still have the plexiglass
Or they'd have
up.
markers 6 feet apart so you knew where to stand.
Totally made up, by the way. All
Just
made up.
Complete inventions.
Yeah, my Publix, they had directions that you could go, and you could not deviate.
If you tried to go down the wrong direction on an aisle, you could be shot.
Yeah.
Well, they weren't that.
Yeah,
they weren't that
a little
straight.
facetious.
Or like you'd see things in, like Florida and Texas, people are like, we're going to party. And then in California, there's a guy out surfing by himself in the ocean, and there's like a SWAT team taking him down. Are you outside in sunshine? How dare you?
Yeah.
Jeez, we lost our freaking mind. We're going to look back
did,
on this in
man.
20 or 30 years and go, what the hell was wrong? Well, not us, like other people.
Yeah.
And somebody just said, you'd be surprised how many people were threatened. Oh, I'm sure there were. But I never did. Because I just thought, it's like getting mad at the lady at the front desk or the guy at the front desk at the airport who's checking you in.
Yeah.
Because your plane's late. Like the dude made it late. You people.
It's that person's fault.
Yeah. And by the way, I'm going to give you guys a little tip. You go there and everybody else is mean. You put a smile on their face. I guarantee you, if there is a first class seat, you may be the one to get it.
You might be.
And your wife will be stuck in the back of the plane. What? If you're missing the show, grab the podcast. Chad Benson Show.
One o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast in 5 minutes. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt just rattled off what the White House says are positive developments amid the tariff war.
Reuters is out with a report that a number of companies are now looking at expanding their presence or bringing their businesses into America because of President Trump's policies. And just moments ago, before coming out here, I saw another report by Reuters revealing that Merck has opened a $1 billion facility at its North Carolina site. This is just the latest pharmaceutical company to boost its U.S. manufacturing in lieu of President Trump's tariffs. This announcement follows Eli Lilly's plans to invest at least $27 billion to build 4 new manufacturing plants here in the United States. And Pfizer has also said it's considering moving their manufacturing overseas right here to the United States of America.
Trump says, she says, Trump speaks at a business roundtable today with more than 100 CEOs, some of whom have expressed concern over tariffs. Here's Karen Travers.
President Trump appears to be ramping up his trade war against Canada, announcing Tuesday morning he'll increase tariffs on Canadian steel and aluminum from 25% to 50%. Those tariffs will go into effect on Wednesday. The president says he's retaliating for the tariffs that Ontario has placed on electricity it sends to Minnesota, Michigan, and New York. He also threatened to increase tariffs on cars coming into the U.S. from Canada starting April 2nd, saying this will, quote, essentially permanently shut down the automobile manufacturing business in Canada.
Got some news from Nissan's front office. CEO Makoto Yoshida stepping down April 1st. Current Chief Planning Officer Ivan Espinosa will take up that role. Nissan expecting a $500 million revenue loss for the full year. Back to our nation's capital, where House Speaker Mike Johnson tried to sell that budget, which President Trump supports, to avoid a government shutdown.
This clean CR contains no poison pill riders, no policy riders there at all, no cuts to Medicare, Medicaid, or Social Security, zero, no cuts to veterans benefit.
House votes on that today. TikTok update. Mike Nabusky on new features aimed at keeping younger users safe.
TikTok is expanding its family pairing feature, which links the app on a parent's phone with the app on their child's phone. Now, family pairing gives parents the ability to set certain times for kids to use TikTok. In addition, the company says it's aiming to give parents more insight into who follows their child on the platform.
And it's been 5 years today since COVID was declared a global pandemic by the World Health Organization, and Dr. Cameron Wolfe at Duke University School of Medicine telling ABC News that when it comes to long COVID, still many questions remain.
We don't see it as a new condition very frequently now at all, because I think almost everyone has been infected or been vaccinated or multiple combinations of both. But for those who had that condition and suffer through it, many continue to be symptomatic. And I don't think we fully understand the science there for sure.
That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Oh, man, you missed it, Belle. I did the hat flip. Swear. People are like, oh, Belle's really great. You're going to love working with him.
Oh, you don't have to take the shot.
I'm just kidding, dude.
Always with the shot.
Dude, you know why? Because I love you. Because I love you. That's why. If I didn't like you, I'd ignore you.
That's probably true.
That's a guy thing. You know, I was... women don't understand, like, how guys do things and how horrible they can be to each other. And that's how, oddly enough, we show love. Right? Like, isn't that weird that that's kind of the thing we do? And I was reading it.
We don't have to show real emotion.
No, it's just because we show it through humor, right? You know, we show it through that kind of thing. We're there, and we're there for each other. And you know, I was trying to tell my kid this, my son, who is, you know, because in this generation they don't allow him to do anything like that. They're like, oh my God, you can't say anything funny like that. You could hurt somebody's feelings, and it's always about feelings. And I'm like, no, dude, man, you bust your buddy's balls. That's what you do. Right? That shows you that you care, right? That you're there. If you ignored them, if you treated them in a weird, you can't do that. And it's weird because he talks about the difference between like sports, where he can do that on his hockey team, compared to school, where everything's monitored and their fear. Oh my God, don't say anything. What's your pronoun? What's my pronoun? Good God. I couldn't even imagine. We talk about, like, you know, Ken mentioned it earlier, like, thank God we didn't have the internet back then. It's, you know, it's not even the internet. It's thank God we didn't have pictures and phones, because that would have made it worse. But if I was at school today and somebody asked me what my pronoun was, I was like, what? Could you imagine if you went back in time and you had to go to school? Oh, Lord. The worst. I'm a free speech absolutist. I don't know about you, Belle. I think you fall in that free speech absolutist category with me.
Yes.
And if you guys haven't heard, there is a guy named Mahmoud Khalil. He is a Syrian-born Palestinian who is a green card, and there's several different green cards you can have. So there's several different green cards you can have, and he was taken into custody because of the new no anti-Semitism on campus, you know, because of all these ridiculous things we've seen as far as protest goes. And by the way, I don't care if you protest, but as somebody who found out a couple years ago I'm Jewish, let me tell you something now, you better watch out. But I don't care that you protest. I don't care that you are full of disdain and hate. But when you threaten people and or you break stuff and do certain things, I mean, we recognize there's a limit to certain things. They took this guy into custody, and there's a lot of noise out there, turning him into the next martyr out there for the cause. And I'm here to say, I'm probably going to say some stuff that's going to piss you guys off.
Calls continue to ring out for the release of pro-Palestinian activist Mahmoud Khalil. This after a federal judge has now blocked his deportation. Over the weekend, he was arrested by federal immigration authorities and then flown to an immigration jail in Louisiana. Now, he is a grad student here at Columbia. He's also a green card holder and is set to wrap up his studies in May and will go before a judge at the federal courthouse as his future in this country now weighs in the balance.
And Chris and I were talking about it. As a free speech absolutist, you know, the only protected speech is the speech that is essentially deemed as hate, because really, you know, that's it. That's according to the Supreme Court. He needs due process. I don't have to like what he has to say. I don't have to agree with what he has to say. I vehemently disagree with so much of what he has to say and the way he's gone about doing it. But due process is important. He's not been charged with anything. He was taken from New York to Louisiana. His lawyer and his wife didn't even know where he was. And I know a lot of people are like, good, get rid of him. That's not how we do stuff. We don't snatch people off the street and say, oh, we're just going to get rid of you. And apparently, from what I understand from 3 or 4 of reporters that I've talked to, they've said they thought he was only here on a student visa, so it would be easy. Then they found out, no, he's a green card, permanent resident. So that changed it, but they still took him anyways. And the thought of just, you know, like, well, you can just get rid of him. We can't, nor should we. Nor should we do that. Let's give him due process, because without the due process, without the opportunity for him to have his say in court and just to get rid of people, that is not good. Is that what we're going to do for everything? Hell no, I don't want that. I don't think anybody wants that. Because remember, at some point in time, you may not be the person in power. The other side might be in power, and then what happens? We've got to follow the rules and the law. That's what separates us from all those things we talk about that we don't want to become. We have to do that. And so they just can't get rid of him based on that. Now, what he said, I don't know, because I'm hearing so many conflicting things. Columbia already looked into it originally, and they said, nah, he didn't say any of those things because they had suspended him. And they said, no, he didn't do any of that stuff. He was a spokesperson for a sympathizer for Hamas. Okay, let's find out if that's what he was. And if they're a known terrorist organization, there you go. That's one. Let's find out if he was part of the disruption on campus, threatening Jews, anti-Semitism. Put it out there so he has a right to defend himself, but it all comes out. Because what you end up doing is you turn him into a martyr, and you make it a bigger deal than it should be. And if you go and you do it wrong, then you got egg on your face. And let's be real, kids, none of us want egg on the face.
Does Marco Rubio have the power to revoke a person's green card or legal status?
So under the immigration laws, there are extreme circumstances where someone's status can be reconsidered if they are aligned with, for example, a terrorist organization or an organization that's been designated a terrorist organization. It is not the case here that Mr. Khalil, that there's any evidence that he is aligned with a terrorist organization or is part of a terrorist organization. So this sort of goes back to the question of due process. Like, yes, statuses can be revoked, but typically when that happens, there's an entire legal process that is followed. And what is surprising here, alarming even, is that this is essentially the kind of strongman move that you've seen in other places where democracy has literally crumbled, places like Pinochet's Chile and things of that nature. This is not typically what we see in the United States, even in circumstances where we've had individuals whose statuses have been reconsidered and revoked.
Rod, you had Tom Homan.
And somebody said, well, you know, he's illegal. He's not illegal. Secondly, and somebody said, what is the status of the green card? There's several different green cards. The one he has is permanent resident. So he has almost the same rights as a U.S. citizen. So because of that, that is the due process. If it was just a student visa, you can get him gone. You could revoke the visa and get him. But it's not just the student visa. It is a green card. As a permanent green card, a permanent resident. He's married to an American citizen, and you should want the due process. You should absolutely want it. Because without due process, it is important that we do it the right way. Because if all of the things are true, you know, he was a spokesperson for this group, he was doing the negotiations. First of all, one of the other things is, this is a side note, hey, colleges, stop letting these brats have their way, okay? Stop giving them a seat at the table as if they're the adults. Stop it. It's not helping you at all when they think they're equal to you. It's like parents who let kids talk to them and use their first name. Well, Steve, it's dad to you. We're not equal. But free speech is an important part. All of the things that we have, right? And I tell this to my friends on the left who are always a big supporter of crushing free speech. All the things that you like, whether it's, you know, women's rights for voting or the civil rights movement or marriage equality or any of that stuff, those things came because of free speech. You can't take it away. It's important. And it's also important, as Bell and I always talk about, it's always important, too, to know where crazy is. That's why you never want to shut crazy down. But the process is the thing that matters here. It's not about what he said. It's the process that is important. And you got to follow the process. As much as you and I may sit there and go, I don't like what he said. You know what? I don't like what the Klan says. I don't like what a bunch of racist nut jobs say. I don't like a lot of things out there that people say. I don't like that people come out there and criticize ABBA. When you know you can't do that. What the hell are you people thinking? That being said,
all of them will deserve to go to jail.
All of them. We're deporting them. Not to Sweden, though. Somewhere awful. Norway. But you have the right to say it. I tell everybody, I will never, ever stop you having the right to criticize me. Call me horrible names. I don't care as long as you don't threaten my life or take over, a facility when I'm in it. Feel free to knock yourself out if I'm not. But it's about having that opportunity. And then if you've done something wrong, let the system sort it out. And that's what the judge says. You don't have a right, Rubio, or anybody else, to take this guy's visa away from him and green card. You don't have that right. That's a judge's right to do so. And no, it's not him. He was not supposed to be deported 11 years ago. Somebody asked that question. Scott Jennings and Ann Navarro got into it.
Here's the problem. Tonight we're talking about this particular case. But the statute you quoted, it's an obscure statute, old statute that's being used, is about being against U.S. foreign policy, right? So, for example, when I was part of protests in Miami, when the Clinton administration and Janet Reno returned Elian Gonzalez to Cuba, is that...
Were you trying to eradicate Western civilization?
No, I was trying to stop the U.S. government, and I was protesting against what the U.S. government had done.
Were you occupying buildings?
I was protesting.
Were you fomenting violence?
I was doing what that...
Were you inciting others to engage in violence?
I was doing what that statute said.
Were you chasing
I was
people
against
around?
U.S. foreign policy.
Were you intimidating people?
Okay, we were shutting down streets. We were shutting down buildings. We were doing all sorts of...
But this is where it's different. You were shutting down streets. You were pissed and angry because they were getting, they were taking Elian Gonzalez and sending him back, right? But you weren't going and saying you hate the Western culture, you hate this, that, and the other. You were working with the Cuban government potentially to spread disinformation and evil here. You weren't trying to do any of those things. You weren't taking over government facilities or buildings. You weren't, threatening anybody who didn't support Cuba. That's what they're accusing him of. And you've got to prove that. And you do that through the due process. And you can't hold somebody indefinitely. And I think right now they're trying to figure out what the hell do we do with this guy? Because we haven't charged him. And because we haven't charged him, what are you going to charge him with? You better find something out. And I know he was at another college this week. And here's the other thing. He's at a college where some people are handing out stuff. Does that mean he handed it out? I don't know. I wasn't there. Right? I wasn't. It was a women's college, too, which you guys know about the women, right? Like they just, God bless you, but the liberal women, you guys really, you need to come to Jesus moment. So we're going to see. But I'm a free speech guy, but I'm also a due process guy. And this isn't about what he said. This is about the process at this moment in time. Everything else will play out. But if you don't follow the process, that's not a good look. Because we can't allow people just to go, I don't like what any of these people said, and go grab them and let's just disappear. Because that's not a good thing. Take some of your texts. Got some of those coming up here. A lot of other stuff to get to as well. So much other stuff. Some of you chiming in still about COVID. Some of your theories out there, which are always entertaining, as we all know, with a smile on the face from Bell. And some people very angry about people who hate ABBA just like we do. We don't like those people either, but I will not stop people from hating ABBA. It's Chad Benson Show. Amen. Super Talk 99.7. Let's just settle down with Chris Hand being a handsome guy. Okay, everybody? All right? All right. No, he's a good-looking dude. Rough Greens, ruffgreens.com. Vitamins, minerals, probiotics, omega-3, 6, 9, all of this awesome stuff packed into an amazing supplement that you give your dog and your cat because we have meow greens. I want you to do this with Rough Greens. We're doing a 90-day challenge, and it's 1 scoop a day. It's awesome. You watch the benefits with your dog. First 30 days, you're going to see shinier coat, more energy. You're going to see a better immune system, thicker, fuller coat, less shedding, and great mobility with their joints after 60 days. After 90 days, heart health is going to improve. Their immune system is going to improve. It is incredible what happens. The beauty of it, 1 scoop will change everything for your dog. Right now, go to roughgreens.com. Use my code Chad. Now, when you do that, they're going to get you a Jumpstart trial bag for free. All it costs is shipping. It's that simple. ruffgreens.com. Use code CHAD to get that Jumpstart trial bag for free. You cover the cost of shipping and take the 90-day challenge now. Roughgreens.com, code CHAD.
Here in Middle Tennessee, we've got a break in the case of 22-year-old Maya Fuller, who's went missing 2 years ago from Murfreesboro, and then her body was found. One of the suspects has decided they don't want to go to trial. And the United States and Ukraine now calling for a 30-day ceasefire with Russia. We'll tell you about that at 1:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Is it today or tomorrow they're meeting in Saudi Arabia?
They've been meeting since yesterday.
Okay, was it yesterday?
Because last week they said they were going to meet on Wednesday of this week. But yeah, man, they sat down yesterday.
Wow, man, 30-day break. Yeah, because I know last I checked, there is a, how should we say this? There's a lot of explosions going on. Russia's getting in all the licks they possibly can.
Yeah. Apparently, Ukraine got one in last night.
Yeah, I think it's time for everybody to cooler, calmer heads to prevail. 30 days. Which is 30 days longer than the last president anybody else has gotten.
Yeah.
And see if you can put this thing to bed. You know, what does everybody want? And if I am Zelensky, man, to be the rock star, come out that you want to be and say, I am willing to say I'm done. I will step away. You guys can allow somebody else to vote and come into this country and run everything. And I will step away and I'd get the hell out of there and go live in somewhere else far away. And that's it. Do the rock star thing. Look like the hero at this point in time. You know, he won't, though, because he loves the stuff. It's hard not to love the stuff, kids. It's hard not to. Because we don't understand those kind of trappings, but I bet those things are nice. Only a pope would understand those kind of trappings. How is the Pope today? Any word? Is he still alive?
Yesterday, the prognosis was that he is getting better. And they put to bed any rumors that he was considering stepping down.
Man, they're gonna have to steal that popage from his cold dead hands.
They're gonna have to go get John Lithgow.
Oh, look at that, kids. That's was it Conclave?
Conclave.
Oh, Rafe Fiennes.
Rafe Fiennes and John Lithgow.
Rafe Fiennes, John Lithgow. A whole bunch of Italian people. I'm telling you, they've got to be. They're jockeying behind the scenes right now already over his dead body that's not dead. And that sounds horrible, but that's the reality.
Yep.
Because it just like anything. When you get to a certain level in anything, it's no longer about what it was that you got into it for. It's now about the whatever, whether it's your poping or politics or even the NFL, right? The NFL's number one thing is protect the badge. It's not about the sports anymore. It's protect the badge. What do I have to do to protect the badge? Everything else is for the people below. So it's politics. Politics indeed. Speaking of politics, the Democrats are bad at it. And I'll be honest. I'm at the point now, after watching all of the cringe that they've put out over the last couple months, thinking to myself, are there just a bunch of Republican youngsters working for them, getting these people to do the dumbest things in history and then laughing behind their backs? This is Rosa Delore, I think her name is. She's the one with the purple hair and the bob, talking about her TikToks.
So your challenge is who's going to win the message war if this government does shut down. I want to show our viewers something that I thought was really interesting, which is that you have taken to TikTok.
Yes.
And you were trying to communicate such things on TikTok. I want to play a little bit of one of your posts.
So she's dancing around. And she's like 75 years old. She's got the purple hair. And she's, I'm dancing around. Who's that for? Like, who's that for? Do you think you're going to impress a 20-year-old who's worried about the messaging of the government shut? They don't even know what the government shutdown means to them.
You were dancing in your chair along that.
Right.
I mean, how important is it for someone like you? I'm sure TikTok, you're not exactly native to that. I'm certainly not.
Yeah.
Just in order to get in the game for Democrats, particularly when you're approaching such a tough time, which is the potential shutdown.
You have to communicate where people are and what they're listening to and what they're reading, etc. You change, your environment changes. You know that. There's old school, and now you have to move. You can either move with the times or you can be left behind. My choice is to move with the times.
You know what? You should have come out dressed as a flapper from the 20s. Why is there nobody? And
that would so suit her, too.
It would. Why is nobody in the world going to these people when they say, hey, we're going to do this? Like when all of them read that thing together. Why does nobody say, hey, guys, this is a stupid idea. Let's not do this. That's why I keep thinking there's got to be somebody working for the Republicans going, all right, this is a great idea. We're going to get you guys to juggle and sing a Jay-Z song. So hilarious. A lot of stuff still to squeeze into on this most exciting day. We got some of your texts coming in about, first, one of them about ABBA. Somebody's telling us to F off, which I totally fine with. I got no problem with. Yeah.
Us or ABBA?
No, us. That was us.
Well, that's fine.
Yeah, which I really don't care about. And some of you asking questions about the green card, the difference between a permanent resident, citizen, do they have the same rights? Talk about that as well. It is Chad Benson Show, Super Talk 99.7.
.30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Full forecast coming up in 5 minutes. Well, the United States and Ukraine calling for a 30-day ceasefire, subject to the acceptance of Russia following talks in Saudi Arabia today. The U.S. will also immediately lift its pause on intelligence sharing and resume security assistance to Ukraine. The timeline for a truce remains unclear. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt says a number of companies are investing in or moving to the U.S. as a result of President Trump's tariffs.
As the president has said over and over again, when we purchase products made in the USA, the profits stay here, the revenue stays here, and most importantly, the jobs stay here.
She cited a report by Reuters that Merck has opened a $1 billion facility at its North Carolina site, following Eli Lilly's plan to invest $27 billion to build 4 new manufacturing facilities in the U.S., and Pfizer considering moving manufacturing overseas to the U.S. The White House says Customs and Border Protection just launched a new app with a new feature, the intent to deport,
which offers unlawfully present aliens or those aliens whose parole has been revoked an orderly and defined process to notify the U.S. government of their intent to depart the country. The CBP Home app strengthens our mission to secure the border and provides illegal aliens with a straightforward way to leave now before facing much harsher consequences later.
And right now in Middle Tennessee, News 2 says one of the suspects charged in connection to the 2022 death of 22-year-old Maya Fuller of Murfreesboro has pleaded guilty to several charges. It comes as the trial was set to start next week. But Tiana Tipton reportedly appeared in a Wilson County courtroom today for a hearing and pleaded guilty to all charges related to Fuller's death. The judge immediately sentenced Tipton to 2 life sentences. That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
United Structural Systems. If you're worried about what's going on with maybe you got standing water in your crawl space, maybe you don't know, musty odor. What's that smell? You don't know. You want the best around, and USS delivers that over and over again. I'm going to read you something. This is a testimonial for somebody who got paid to do it, thought, hey, they were so amazing, I've got to talk about it. And it shows you everything you need to know about USS. Recently had to undergo a complete foundation overhaul, which was no small project. Thankfully, we chose United Structural Systems, and I couldn't be more pleased with the experience. The crew was phenomenal from start to finish. The gentlemen were not only highly professional, punctual, meticulous, incredibly respectful of my property, treating it as if it was their own. If I ever need any structural or foundation work in the future, USS will be my first and only call. I recommend them to anyone in need of a top-tier foundation repair service. 5 stars all the way. If you've got issues, if you're worried, don't be. USS has you covered. I want you to do this. Take down this number right now. Not going to charge you for coming out and giving you an inspection and taking a look at everything, and they're not going to sell you anything unnecessary. 615-488-7855. 615-488-7855 or online at USSTN.com. I like that one. It's much better. It's a hell of a song right there. I didn't write it, but it's a hell of a song. It's just immigration, man. That is a conversation that is. How long have we had this conversation? I don't know. See, I'm 54. Since I was born, we've had this conversation. Never like this, though. And the battle that is going on with immigration, case in point, here, Tennessee. What to do with the kids that are here? Their parents came here illegally. They were brought here. What do you do when it comes to their education? What does the law say? Which is another big thing, because I remember today's a lot about the law. People, we have to follow the law. That's what separates us from others.
Members of the Tennessee House of Representatives will be discussing a bill that would allow local school districts to refuse students who are here, quote, unlawfully. Fox 17 News' Johnny Maffey is live for us this morning in studio. And Johnny, the discussion around this bill got a little heated at times.
Well, yeah, definitely a lot of back and forth, a lot of debate on this one, Justin. It did pass through the Senate Education Committee last week, but not without that back and forth like we were talking about, as teachers and educators were testifying in the public comment period, calling the bill, quote, oppressive. State Senator Bo Watson says some schools can't handle the amount of English language learners coming into certain districts. They don't have the resources, he says, or maybe the funds either, to accommodate, which are some of the reasons behind the bill. Leaving it up to the districts, the bill reads, whether or not they can refuse students here, quote, unlawfully. On the House side of things, here's Speaker Cameron Sexton.
I don't understand what the issue would be, what the problem would be for them to verify their status, either they're American citizen or not, or they have documented or not documented. I don't understand what the cost would be on that. I'll have to take a look at it, but I would assume it should be something that's very easily done.
So, what does the law say? 1982, Supreme Court, Plyer versus Doe, cannot deny access to public education based on a child's immigration status. Public schools cannot require proof of citizenship or legal status for enrollment. They cannot require Social Security numbers as a condition for attendance. Schools may ask for residency verification like a utility bill, but not for immigration documentations. Undocumented students are entitled to the same education resources as U.S. students. That's what the law says. Now, a lot of times you are going out there and you're testing this. You're pushing this forward in hopes that it can get up because you think, okay, I've got the Supreme Court with me now, and I can get this pushed over to my side. Because we've got, in theory, a 6-3, 5-4 lead, depending, Amy Coney Barrett or Roberts or somebody like that. I don't think that's going to go this way. First of all, I don't think it's going to get there. And look, the whole money side of stuff is a very real thing. As we touched on a little bit earlier today, if you've got 30 kids and 5 or 10 of them don't speak any English, that's a tough thing. It is. I mean, we're asking our teachers to do a yeoman's job in a lot of cases, let alone having to figure out what to do with, say, the kids who don't speak English. You're taking up a lot of their time for the other kids, which can be frustrating. But this is also, and Ken pointed this out as well, there is no you have to. These are suggestions of whether or not you take these kids. You can, I guess, deny, and I'm not sure what the money situation looks like, because, again, it's a weird thing with money, because there's always something attached to money when it comes to this. But if your goal is to get it to the Supreme Court, I don't know if it'll get there, because I think they'll look at this. And remember, Chief Justice Roberts is going to look at this and go, and he's a big guy on precedent. The precedent's already been set. It's 1982. This is 1982 or 1782. So why should we look at this again? Why should we? And I don't know if they will. I don't. And quite frankly, I don't think we should be, these kids are here, and the potential of them being here for a while or maybe forever and not educating them is going to hurt everybody at this point in time. So, why now? Why this? Well, if it is just about the money side of stuff, okay, if that's the way you're going to spend it. But I saw Oklahoma's tried to do this too, where they want everybody to show their status. And, you know, I look at it and for me as a parent, I can't punish a kid for bad things that parents have done or the things they've done that's wrong. And the law says at this moment in time, and that's why you're doing this, because you want to press this, I have a feeling, to get it to the point where it's looked at higher courts. Because you know every challenge in the world is coming. And this is a suggestion. This is a thing that, you know, you're not forced to if you're a teacher or if you are a, you know, an administrator or a school district to say this kid can't come here because they're not giving me their legal status or any of their documentation. So we'll see how this thing plays itself out because you know it's going to play itself out sooner rather than later. Meanwhile, speaking of immigration, Houston, you caught how many?
ICE Houston just announced that in a single week-long operation in the Houston area, they arrested 646 illegal aliens. That is a huge number for one ICE office in one single week. ICE says 543 of those illegal aliens were criminals, 140 of which were aggravated felons, 34 were sex offenders or pedophiles, and 52 had drug trafficking or drug possession charges. This is by far the most arrests we've seen from a single operation under this new Trump administration.
That's a good week. You know, part of what's in the CR bill is more money for and that's a continuing resolution. Basically, it's the half-half way of saying that this is what our budget looks like, is more money for ICE. They're cutting money in certain areas, and there's more money for ICE, which is good because they need it. Because, you know, we've talked about, we can say we want to deport everybody that's here illegally. We want to do all these things. Guess what? It isn't going to happen with the amount of people we have and the resources we have. We just don't have enough people, right? At some point in time, it's a manpower thing. And they're working on it. I mean, yeah, that's great. They got 600 and some, and they caught the bad ones, which is also great. But when you think about how many people are here that are undocumented, that are illegal, how many gotaways that we have no idea where they are, that's massive. But I hear the whole thing about those things that Bill Mnuchin, who does a great job, is reading off. Those are crimes that were committed here for the most part. Some may be in countries that we have worked with, we have a relationship with, but for the most part, those are crimes that were done here. And the fact that they're back out on the streets, knowing they don't have legal status, is mind-boggling. And it shouldn't be, but it is. It absolutely is. It's crazy to think that. Several of you chiming in about the kids. I'm going soft. Why am I going soft? Did you know I was going soft?
Only in the middle.
I am. I know. That's why I don't eat carbs. No, it's not. I'm just being real. I mean, these, you know, and if we're not getting rid of everybody, and we're not, you could say we are, but we're not going to. We can get rid of a decent amount. We can see some self-deport, but there's still going to be some here. The question comes to, what do we do with the kids? It's because to think that we're not going to educate them. Well, the Supreme Court says you have to. So are you going to go against the Supreme Court? Probably not. Probably not. And that's if it ever gets back to the Supreme Court. Then what would happen? So, it's not about going soft. It's about looking at what is set up. And the setup is, Supreme Court said in 1982, this is what has to happen. And this is the way it goes. And that's that. Now, you can have a disdain for the Supreme Court back in 1982. I don't remember it. I was 11. Don't remember much back then. I couldn't even tell you who was on the Supreme Court. Mickey Mantle? Pele? I don't know. I'm 11. You want to say something, Bill? I see you reaching.
No, never mind.
I'm very negative. Why am I negative, Sandra? Tell me. Why? Yes, during the middle, yes. Why am I negative? It's not negative. It's honesty. It's what you guys don't want. Nobody wants that. Isn't it amazing?
Tell me what I want to hear.
That's exact. I don't do it. By the way, guys, if you're looking for affirmation, man, I am not your show. I'm going to rain on your parade. I just want the truth. If you don't want the truth, then, I just want the truth. How does this really work? You can tell me that we're going to pass this bill, but what are the chances of surviving the 40 different challenges that are coming? Is it constitutional? Not whether or not you want it to happen, which is what I get from a lot of people out there. I want this to happen. There's a lot of people that want stuff to happen. Doesn't mean it's going to happen at all. Several of you have chimed in about the Muhammad Khalil and whether or not he should still be in the country. You want to get rid of him because he's a terrorist, sympathizer, all those things. Yes, I believe that to be true, but due process is important.
Under the Immigration and Nationality Act, the Secretary of State has the right to revoke a green card or a visa for individuals who serve or are adversarial to the foreign policy and national security interests of the United States of America. And Mahmoud Khalil was an individual who was given the privilege of coming to this country to study at one of our nation's finest universities and colleges. And he took advantage of that opportunity, of that privilege, by siding with terrorists, Hamas terrorists who have killed innocent men, women, and children. This is an individual who organized group protests that not only disrupted college campus classes and harassed Jewish American students and made them feel unsafe on their own college campus, but also distributed pro-Hamas propaganda, flyers with the logo of Hamas. That is what the behavior and activity that this individual engaged in. And I have those flyers on my desk. They were provided to me by the Department of Homeland Security.
Yeah. And that's evidence. That's due process. That's what you take in front of a court. I think he knows he's in trouble, especially if you can prove that he organized a ton of this stuff and was not only potentially violent, but threatening towards students on campus. And you do the due process thing. And he's got a green card, which is different than a visa. A visa you can revoke almost immediately. The green card, there is a due process that happens. And some of you get mad at me at due process as if I made up the whole process itself, which I haven't. Neither has Bell, and definitely not Ken. Ken's not making up any process whatsoever. We know that. So the due process says he's got to go before a judge, and that's the person that can revoke his green card. And then I don't know where he's from, Syria, but I don't know how long he's been. This is followed because that's the most important thing. It's about the Constitution, following the process, and him having a green card as a permanent resident gives him almost the same amount of rights as an American citizen, which may piss you off. And again, I am the messenger, and I'm giving my opinion, but I did not make up the law, as many of you would like to think I did, which I didn't. Got some more texts coming up here in a little bit as well. Talk a little bit about the continuing resolution as they debated on the floor of the House. C-SPAN's always fun. You know what we haven't had? We haven't a good old-fashioned throwdown in Congress. I watched that one in Serbia last week where they started throwing flares at each other. Oh, that was a humdinger, kids.
There was one that Matt talked about where this was like in the 1800s, where one House member beat another House member with a cane.
It was Andrew Jackson.
Within like an inch of his life.
It's always Andrew Jackson. Whatever you hear, and then is that the one where he beat him like a cane and then had a statue of himself erected right there?
No, this was actually on the floor of the House.
Yeah. Well, that would be Andrew Jackson.
But it was. But every time I hear of anybody fighting, it makes me think of that, and it also makes me think of Green having to get special dispensation to have his cane on the House floor.
Oh, that's right. Look at that. Because he could hit somebody with it. Ooh, because we had that in 1800s. That's why. It's the Chad Benson Show, Super Talk 99.7. Birch Gold. Man, have you seen gold and silver? You're going to want to be a part of it right now. Still opportunities. I want you to text Benson to 989898 today. And the reason for that is simple. You don't know what's going to happen in the marketplace. It's up, it's down, it's sideways. But with the thought of a trade war, with the thought of inflation potentially getting higher, maybe the weakening of the dollar, you want to make sure you're protected to the downside, and gold gives you that opportunity to have that safety net. When you text Benson to 989898, you're going to get the ultimate guide to gold in the Trump era, forward done by Don Jr. On top of that, you're going to get an investment kit from Birch. They're going to tell you why it's important to diversify, and having gold as part of your portfolio and your investments is a smart thing to do. It doesn't cost you anything. All you have to do is text the word Benson to 989898 today to find out how gold can help you and what Birch can do for you. That's text the word Benson to 989898 now.
The U.S. and Ukraine proposing a 30-day ceasefire with Russia, but the Kremlin has yet to respond. And one of the three suspects in the 2022 death of Maya Fuller of Murfreesboro has pleaded guilty just a week before the trial. We'll tell you about it at 2 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I love our texters. Feel free to text your love, your hate, your indifference. It's all good. And like I said, I am not the messenger that made the message up. I'm the person delivering the message, as you know. And some of you are like, it's not about, you don't understand the truth. I'm like, no, the truth is SCOTUS spoke, not me. Bell didn't speak. He didn't make it up. Matt didn't make it up. Chris wasn't even around then. That's how young Chris is. When it comes to educating kids here, it's, you know, it's frustrating. I get it. Man, nobody understands it more. And by the way, I came from a state where you guys think immigration's an issue? Go to Arizona, go to California, where you've got school. My stepkids' school, when my wife and I got together, their school was 95% English second language. Because we lived in the Valley, there were people. That's why they were homeschooled. It was crazy. It's frustrating. I get it. A lot of you get frustrated. But something like SCOTUS spoke. Well, they don't understand the Constitution, one person said. Okay, well, apparently you do. And you got enough time to watch us on YouTube. I think they do. Now, if you want to change the laws, that's something you can do. But you're also asking government to actually do something. Hell, they can't even get a bill through for a budget. And we went, what was it, 1996? Is that what you guys said?
1996.
Sweet mother of, I was 25 years old. I mean, all of us, we were thinner. We were fitter. We had hair. Or in Bell's case, he had less hair, but he looked.
I had a head.
He had a head. It was
I didn't pull muscles reaching for coffee cups.
No. God, how many times have you sneezed and you thought, I don't know if I could walk tomorrow? Here's one for you. How many listening have taken a nap and you've woken up on the couch and you can't move your shoulder? That's when you.
How many of you taken a nap and woken up the next day?
Oh.
Or woken up and terrified you missed the school bus.
Oh, yeah, I know. And then thinking, I don't even have a kid, but you were trying to capture one, so that was weird. Oh, Chad. But a lot of you are frustrated, about this. New York Post is saying they're deporting that Colombian guy. The Colombia guy? Well, who? You can't deport him unless he's gone before a court because he's a green card holder. So the Secretary of State, by the way, has no authority to revoke. Department of Homeland Security can, but they have to prove he's done something. So it may happen overnight because he's supposed to see a judge later tonight or tomorrow. I think it's tomorrow. And we'll see. And then I don't know where they fly him to. Syria, but Syria's got some issues right now. Syria's a mess. What do you mean? There was an overthrow of a government and the new government isn't playing nice? This is my shocked face. A lot of stuff still to get to. Talk a little economy, continuing resolutions, a bunch of other goodies as well. Take some of your text messages. You can tweet at us at Chad Benson Show. Check out our YouTube and my YouTube, Chad Benson Show TV, over there on the YouTube. And Twitch. What's our Twitch handle?
Super Talk.
Okay, there you go.
99.7.
There you go. It's not something cool like Cool Beans McGee. It is Chad Benson Show, Super Talk 19.
Cool Beans McGee. Two o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Drivers, we've got some sort of obstruction on the road. This is impacting 440 eastbound at West End. TDOT is reporting that. Got a crash 65 southbound after Harding Place and Creve Hall. And then in Antioch, off-ramp partially blocked, 24 westbound off-ramp to Harding Place. Looks like TDOT reporting that. Ukraine has agreed to a temporary ceasefire with Russia, but the Kremlin is not on board yet. Ukraine and U.S. negotiators proposing a 30-day ceasefire. After that announcement, the U.S. announced it is immediately resuming all support to Ukraine. Meanwhile, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt addressed questions about any concerns Americans may have with stock market losses under President Trump's tariffs on our trading partners.
When it comes to the stock market, the numbers that we see today, the numbers we saw yesterday, the numbers we'll see tomorrow are a snapshot of a moment in time. And as President Trump has said, and I'm here to echo the remarks of this president, of this White House, we are in a period of economic transition. We are in a period of transition from the mess that was created under Joe Biden in the previous administration.
Here in Tennessee, one of the three suspects charged in connection to the 2022 murder of Maya Fuller of Murfreesboro says she's guilty. Tiana Tipton was in a Wilson County courtroom today for a readiness hearing, but that became unnecessary when it was announced she wanted to plead guilty to premeditated murder and first-degree murder. Tipton was immediately sentenced to 2 life prison terms. The other 2 suspects still scheduled for trial, with their next court hearing scheduled for May 6th. Prosecutors say Tipton had a disagreement with Fuller and then a fight. Fuller's body was put into a trunk of a car. She was actually placed in the trunk of a car, driven out to Wilson County, where she was shot 7 times. Her body found days later. Also in Tennessee, a bill that allows school districts to deny access to undocumented immigrant students or charge them tuition drew quite a crowd of protesters today.
Education for all! Education for all!
Well, that bill ended up passing the K-12 House Subcommittee and was referred to the full House Education Committee. And say goodbye to what made Southwest Airlines unique. Starting in May, it's going to start charging bag fees just like every other airline, and flight credits will begin expiring after 1 year. Got some new information on the NTSB investigation into that D.C. plane crash. Here's Alex Stone.
January's midair crash brought to light a dangerous setup. According to the NTSB, from 2011 to 2024, there was about 1 collision avoidance alert per month at Reagan National Airport. NTSB Chair Jennifer Homendy is urgently calling on the FAA to change helicopter routes near landing planes at the airport.
There's a serious safety issue here, which is why we're issuing these urgent safety recommendations.
The NTSB finding sometimes helicopters have 75 feet or less of clearance from landing airplanes.
That's
Alex
the latest.
Stone, ABC News.
Sorry about that, Alex. That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Little thunderstruck. How much more will happen in Ukraine? We'll get to that in a second. But is it true, my good friend Ken, that Canada is saying, let's hold off on these,
Yeah. Apparently, the tough-talking Ontario Premier Doug Ford says, well, let's go ahead and suspend that 25% electricity surcharge for about a month.
For about a month. Everybody's suspending stuff for about a month.
Yeah, for about a month.
That's the new thing. Yeah. About a month. Let's do it for about a month.
Yeah.
And did he give a reason?
I haven't dug down into the reason yet, but it comes right after Trump put a 50% tariff on aluminum and steel.
And then we're going to do a 70%. Then they'll do a 71. It's going to be like
tit for tat.
Yeah.
Boom, 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 boom.
It's going to be like Price is Right. What'd they say? 70? We'll do 71. Yeah, I know. Exactly. So that's good news. Other good news that may be coming. Marco Rubio, ladies and gentlemen.
One interest is ending this war once and for all. Today we made an offer that the Ukrainians have accepted, which is to enter into a ceasefire and into immediate negotiations to end this conflict in a way that's enduring and sustainable and accounts for their interests, their security, their ability to prosper as a nation. I want to personally we both want to thank the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, His Majesty, for hosting us, for making this possible. They've been instrumental in this process, and we're very grateful to them for hosting us here today. And hopefully we'll take this offer now to the Russians. And we hope that they'll say yes to peace. The ball's now in their court. And but again, the president's objective here is, number one, above everything else, he wants the war to end. And I think today Ukraine has taken a concrete step in that regard. We hope the Russians will reciprocate.
Now it is truly in the hands of the Russians, because you've got the Ukrainians in agreeing to whatever's in it, because obviously we don't know the nuts and bolts of this. But now that we know, okay, we've got this here, it's now up for Putin to say whether or not he wants to do it. And we'll find out. Again, this is temporary. It's a 30-day ceasefire. Everything is temporary, just like a 30-day pause on all of this stuff that's going on with the energy prices in 3 states that were going to rise, but now are not going to rise because of the tariffs and then the retaliatory tariffs and then tariff back to you and then over to you. It's a month. Can you do it? Because then what you do is you give yourself time to go out and fight the good fight of putting it together. Can that happen? We're going to find out if it can happen. I think the opportunity is there to get this thing done sooner rather than later. I've always said it was going to be about 60 days or so, maybe 90 days before it actually got done, and that would be great. It could be great for everybody. No more deaths. No more. It's enough. Then you turn over to Israel. In Israel, there's a lot going on over there. That one is going to be way tougher. That is not an easy situation. And partially because Israel's always going to do what's best for Israel. Ukraine may be giving in more. Putin may be giving a little bit more. People are willing to bend. Israel is always going to do what's best for Israel. Always. And they're not afraid to go, no, thanks, Trump. Because this is something they see as a no-go. For me, I think it's time that we put that thing to bed, but you've got to do it in a way where all of the Middle East is involved in some way, shape, or forms, the ones that are, semi put together, and that it is not the same old same. Hamas cannot be around. And if that means you have to go to Saudi Arabia, to Qatar, to Dubai, all of these groups and say, you guys, you hide them, you give them money, and you don't let them out of your sight anymore, the leaders. And otherwise, we're going to be back at this again. And there's no winning in this. So we'll see. Speaking of a battle, the one and only Mike Johnson, real name, not quite sure.
If congressional Democrats refuse to support this clean CR, they will be responsible for every troop who misses a paycheck, for every flight delay from reduced staffing at TSA, for every negative consequence that comes from shutting down the government.
Every consequence. It's tough to blame the Democrats when they have zero say in this. I mean, they don't. I mean, if you've got Thomas Massey, who's already and Trump has come out and already said he wants to primary him. Stop with that. I get it if it's somebody who is that you can't stand, it goes against everything. Those are essentially Democrats. That's fine. Thomas Massey, though, he's more of a libertarian. A little near and dear to my heart. Secondly, he's always been this way. And he's looking up and he's saying, yeah, I don't like any of this stuff. First of all, the continuing resolution, for those of you out there who are like, well, I'm glad we got rid of U.S. aid. No. With the continuing resolution, USA gets funded again, at least until September. So there's that. They cut a little bit, but it's not a ton. And always saying that you're going to go out and primary somebody it's not something I'm thrilled by, especially somebody who absolutely is a Trump supporter. Thomas Massey is a Trump supporter big time. He's been a Trump supporter. He's also a supporter of Elon. And he's been a supporter of Elon for a very long time. He was the first of the folks to buy a Tesla and hasn't burned it down, which I see a lot of that happening. So, you can go. The reason for it is because you want this not to be on your watch. Well, Republicans, you guys have always screamed you want the government shutdown when the Democrats are in charge. Maybe see what it's like without it. And think about this. Imagine what Elon can do if he was running free with no government around. Imagine how much he maybe could get done. Maybe. Because there's only so much he still can do. But still, what would that look like?
With House Democrats vowing to withhold their support, Republicans can only afford a single defection, and Vice President Vance heads to Capitol Hill today to rally Republicans. Kentucky Congressman Thomas Massey, who's a frequent no vote on continuing resolutions, says he'll vote against this one, too. Overnight, President Trump called Massey a grandstander who should be primaried. If the spending bill does pass the House, it'll be up to Doge-wary Democrats in the Senate to decide whether to block it with a filibuster.
Several of you have chimed in. I'm with Massey. One person said, if he's a Trump supporter, well, let's give Trump what he wants and pass the damn bill. Well, first of all, the CR is not a bill. It's a continuing resolution. It's a kick to the curb. If you support getting rid of U.S. aid, don't you want that gone? Or am I wrong here? This is more about saving face than keeping the government rocking and rolling. This is more about that. And to compare him, as he did, to Liz Cheney, I think was ridiculous. Thomas has always been this way. And what happens when it gets to the Senate, by the way? Because even if you get it through here, you got to go to the Senate. And people are worried about Collins and Murkowski. I don't know if you guys are aware of this. There's a guy named Rand Paul. He's Captain No. Am I right? Just like his dad, man. That's my wife votes for Ron Paul every year. Like that's her jam. Doesn't matter what it is. Be a local election. Ron Paul. But he's Captain No. But I want to know, why haven't you guys passed any real bills since 1996? You haven't got this done. 1996. It's always piecemealing it together over time. It's enough is enough. It's time to get this done in a real way and stop prime. Like, I get that you might want to get rid of some people who frustrate you, but this dude is not a grandstander. He's not. The guy said Jason said he burnt his bra and Tesla last night. Together? Man, together. You burnt your bra and your Tesla. That is so weird that you would do that. I still don't get the Tesla stuff. I still don't. That guy Elon is so all about the planet. We need to save it. We got to go to Mars. I don't know. He may be just trying to go home. I have no idea. But he all of the things. And these people still go out and do this. He's a Nazi, which again is the dumbest thing in the world. So we'll see if they can continue in resolution. But it will land at the feet of, yes, this government being President Trump and Congress and Senate, because they're in control of everything. And the Senate's going to be tougher. And Chuck Schumer, by the way, he is not like Hakeem Jeffries. Hakeem Jeffries can afford to go party line vote, no. Where Chuck has got, because he could be seen as the guy standing in the way of stuff. So you watch what happens here. You can tweet at us. Love hearing from all of you. Let's see. Democrats have chosen not to participate in budget talks. I'm cool with the government shutdown. Won't miss anything. Yeah, I think a lot of people. I support Trump 100%. However, he's wrong in this. I love Thomas Massey. I stand with him. So many times Trump needs to hush. There is a lot of people that feel that way. I was surprised when I went online today to see what people were saying about Massey. How many people were like, no, I like Massey. No, this is, he's a good dude. This guy stands for it. And he's one of the few, by the way. He is a free speech absolutist, which I love. He is a guy that has always been a no on ridiculous spending, wants people to pass these bills like we're supposed to, right? Like we're supposed to pass these bills. He is like, you can count on maybe one hand how many people are like him in Congress. Doesn't take any foreign money, battles hard against any kind of lobbyist, foreign lobbyists in particular. That's a good dude. That's the person you need on your side. And again, a Trump supporter. That doesn't endear you. And a lot of people, even Mike Johnson, said, I'm in the business of keeping the house. So take it for what it is. Several of you are still chiming in about the Elon did vote for Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden. And he changed. So you can do that. You can change. Several of you still chiming in about the bill that they're trying to pass. Is that today, Ken, if I'm right? Are they hearing it today on the floor?
What, the
immigration, school bill?
Oh, here in Tennessee?
Yeah.
Well, I'm not sure if they're going to take it up in the full House Education Committee today, but it did pass the subcommittee, the K through 12.
So, okay. So it got there. I didn't know if they were going to hear it or it got out of there and they were going to hear it today or not. Somebody says, wrong, Chad. 83% of U.S. aid contracts have been canceled. Massey has been a never-Trumper and therefore an obstructionist. And by the way,
that's
no,
not true.
I know that's not true. But here's the thing. 83% of it may be canceled, but when you have a continuing resolution, you do not have a new budget. So you have to go on last year's budget. And so you fund what's left of U.S. aid for the rest of the year. So you can cancel it all you want, but that's not going to come until you have a new budget. And this ain't a new budget. For the next 4 years, you're either pro-Trump agenda member of Congress or we'll find someone who is. Massey needs to get in line or we'll have him deported. Trump will have him deported. That's kind of funny. We're talking a lot about deportation. We'll talk a little bit more about that coming up. Also, COVID, 5 years. 5 years ago, The Who, not the band, great band. I used to have a parka with a big Who, right? The bullseye on the back of it is awesome. But The Who, World Health Organization, came out and announced, this is a global pandemic. And then, of course, the first things that hit our shore landed first in Washington State, and then, boom, New York became the epicenter. And what a nightmare that was. Talk a little bit about that as well. Have we learned anything from that? Probably not, because we don't like to learn stuff. That's for damn sure. If you missed any of the show, we say what, Belle?
Shame!
Shame.
Shame!
Rough Greens, RUFFgreens.com. Use code Chad. Get a free Jumpstart trial bag of the best supplement around for your dog. Rough Greens, $20 value, absolutely free. You cover the cost of shipping. Now, what is Rough Greens? Vitamins, minerals, probiotics, omega-3, 6, 9, all this incredible stuff. Living enzymes. 1 scoop a day is going to help your dogs. They're doing a 90-day challenge. In that 90 days, you're going to see your dog in the first 30 days with a shinier coat, more energy. By day 60, their immune system's stronger, their energy level's still up, and their mobility's better because of the living enzymes. And it really kicks in. By day 90, their coats are not only shiny, they're full. They are healthier. Their heart health is better. They are living their best lives. It's like having a new dog. Try a Jumpstart trial bag of Rough Greens. All it costs you is shipping, and then take the 90-day challenge. It's that simple. Go to RUFFgreens.com. That's right, roughgreens.com. Use code chat, roughgreens.com, code chat. The Wellness Institute of Nashville. Do you want to dance around? Do you want to feel amazing? Right now, they got something for you. In honor of the 47th president, 47% off. Non-surgical spinal decompression. It's the big 47 offer going on right now. Say goodbye to bulging disc, herniations, spinal stenosis. My God, man. You want to dance around. You want to groove. You want to feel good. You want this year to be a year of awesomeness. Let them help you. Dr. Mitchell, Dr. Ashley are going to help you big time. It is simple thing. First thing you do is you pick up the phone, you call 615-246-5009. You say, I want to feel better, and you're probably frustrated. They're going to say, come on in. They're going to give you a once-over, which is it's about building a plan for you and your back. It's about building a plan for you and your knees. Take advantage of this. Get out there, living your life again. The weather's gorgeous. You want to be outside walking, not taking a few steps and hurting. We've all been there. It is the big 47 going on right now, 47% off, non-surgical spinal decompression. Call them today, 615-246-5009, 615-246-5009, or go to painisbad.com.
And the U.S. is resuming all aid to Ukraine after Ukraine agreed to a 30-day ceasefire with Russia. Now we wait to see what Russia says. Canada is suspending those electricity tariffs on Americans ahead of talks with the U.S. These stories are more at 2:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
5 years after the lockdowns, the mask mandates, and the distrust of the medical system, the way many ordinary Americans treat healthcare workers is one of the lasting effects of the pandemic, says nurse practitioner Lisa Olson-Gugerty at Syracuse University.
I see lots of my fellow colleagues exhausted and tired, and there's still that presence of the public denying COVID.
She says the nation's healthcare system is still not what it once was. Sherry Preston, ABC News.
No, it's not what it once was, and I can't blame that on the people that work there. I just can't. I can't blame that on the people that are the nurses and the doctors. And several people chimed in. We talked about this a little bit earlier, that you know, the threats that people got. You know, people lose their mind. Emotion is such a, it's a wonderful thing, right? When you're born, your kid's first born, it's an amazing thing. The emotion you have for your loved ones and stuff. But sometimes that emotion just overruns people and the insanity of what went on. And that includes the craziness of the government overreach. We can all remember the crazy stuff that government thought that this was best for us because they couldn't let us make a decision for ourselves. And they wanted us, you know, to try to stay away by 6 feet based on nothing, right? Based on no real data. Well, I just made that up. Well, why not 12 feet? Why not 15? The plexiglass was always one of my favorites because they put plexiglass in a store as if it couldn't go over it or around it, right?
Yeah, it's just going to stay on the other side of that plexiglass.
So I don't know. I mean, it is I think we're going to look back at this, and well, we're already looking back on it. And, education's a big issue, as we've talked about. But I think we're going to look back at this in the future and say, what the hell were we thinking? But also, what government doesn't get is, let's just say something horrific happened. The Ebola virus somehow became airborne, a la the movie Outbreak. We don't trust the government now. We don't. So getting people then, when it's real, no, like this time it's totally real. That ain't going to work.
It's just like remember early on with nursing homes, you couldn't go visit your loved ones.
Oh.
Yet the staff, they could come and go.
Yeah, they could. They could come and go. You could stand outside and wave to your grandmother who's dying from boredom. She's lived. She's 102. She wants to give you a hug.
Yeah.
She's been there. She's done that. I mean, the funeral things in certain parts of the country. My buddy, his mother died. He couldn't go. They wouldn't allow anybody. They were only allowing one person at the gravesite. So his sister went. The guy who drove the hearse pulled over to parking lot so her husband could then drive the hearse to the gravesite to act like he was there as the funeral person. That's how stupid that was. Who's that for? She's already passed away. It ain't going to save her. It's embarrassing. Kids learning online in this. It was about control.
Or more
Then it
appropriately,
was
not learning online.
Well, not learning. Well, I will say my son's school, it was a STEM school. So within like a day, these nerds had put together an amazing thing. And they didn't really lose that much. But my little brothers, oh, geez. What a nightmare.
Yeah.
What a nightmare that was. But from that to you couldn't go to a park.
No, you couldn't go to a park.
Yeah. I couldn't go to a park.
It was crazy, man.
I went out when I was living in Arizona. I was like, I've got to work out. Because I was working 18 hours a day, basically. And I'm like, I've got to get outside because I'm in a studio all day. And so I would go across the street to this park. They would let you be in the park, but they taped up the park benches with yellow tape. What the hell is wrong with you? Who's that for? They arrest somebody because they're surfing in California? Oh, my God.
Yeah, meanwhile, in Florida, man, everybody was on the beach.
Oh, good God. They didn't care. And same thing in Texas, right?
Texas
was like, Greg Abb's like, I don't care. You guys do what you want. Knock yourself out. Because it's Texas, baby. But I was surprised. And even now when I go and to visit, like in Southern California, I just got back. There are still remnants of things where you're just like, wow, what the hell was wrong with you people? Thank God. Thank God for that. Coming up, a lot of stuff. We got some of your texts coming in. Somebody's asked me if I took a short bus growing up. I did not. But I appreciate the question. I don't know about you guys. My little brother, he's special. He took what I thought was going to be a short bus. It was a regular size bus. It was. So just to let you guys know that. And he has a wheelchair and everything. It was regular size. So there you go. Not as short as you thought, kids. Chad Benson Show, Super Talk 99.7.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Right now, we've got in Whites Creek, police reporting a crash 24 westbound at Old Hickory Boulevard. Then on the west end, TDOT says there's some sort of obstruction on the road, 440 eastbound at West End Avenue. And then in Antioch, TDOT says the off-ramp is partially blocked from 24 westbound to Harding Place. Full forecast coming up in 5 minutes. The U.S. is resuming all military aid and intelligence sharing with Ukraine after Ukraine announced agreement on a 30-day ceasefire with Russia. This comes during talks in Saudi Arabia with Secretary of State Marco Rubio, who says Russia has not responded yet.
Hopefully we'll take this offer now to the Russians. And we hope that they'll say yes to peace. The ball's now in their court.
Trade war update just hours after President Trump threatened to double tariffs on Canadian steel and aluminum. Canada's Ontario Premier Doug Ford says he's suspending raising tariffs on 1.5 million Americans in Minnesota, New York, and Michigan. And what about the Trump administration's desire to deport who they say organized pro-Palestine protests to harass Jewish students at Columbia University?
Secretary Rubio reserves the right to revoke the visa of Mahmoud Khalil. Under the Immigration and Nationality Act, the Secretary of State has the right to revoke a green card or a visa for individuals who serve or are adversarial to the foreign policy and national security interests of the United States of America.
That's White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt today. A federal judge in New York City paused deportation of Khalil yesterday to get a better handle on this case. Right now in Tennessee, a bill that allows school districts to enroll or refuse to enroll undocumented immigrant students is advancing. It made it out of the House K-12 Education Subcommittee this morning, was referred to the full House Education Committee. Critics say it runs counter to a 1982 Supreme Court decision guaranteeing every child, no matter their citizen status, access to a public education. That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
The Retirement Ready Toolkit is ready for you at Beacon Capital Management. So if you're worried about what's going on in the market, give Beacon a call. They're local. Sit down with you and talk about all the things that are happening, especially if you're at retirement, maybe nearing retirement, and you're worried, you're seeing what's going on. Call 615-488-9303 today. It doesn't cost you anything. There's no hard sale. But there's a lot of people out there. You're not alone to worry about what's going on out there. And you deserve the confidence to know that there's somebody there to help you. And when you do, they're going to get you out the Retirement Ready Toolkit when you call them. So what do you get with this? You're going to get a Money Enough for Life book, a retirement planning checklist, and a Maximizing Your Retirement Income white paper. Again, no cost, no obligation, no pressure. Call them today, 615-488-9303. That's 615-488-9303. Or find them online at askbeaconnow.com. Yo-yo dieting sucks. That's why I want you to go to takelean.com. Use code Benson20. Get 20% off your first month. Now, what is lean? This is stuff that is great. First and foremost, there's no prescription, right? There is no shots. A few pills a day. It's going to help you with your energy level. What it's going to do is, through nutrition and science, guess what? It's going to help you burn fat, turn it into energy. It's going to help with your blood sugar and your cravings. These things are important. It's safe, and that's an important thing because yo-yo dieting can do things to you like increase stroke, heart attack risk. We can go on and on and on. Check it out today. If you're sick and tired of being on the yo-yo, the ups, the downs, don't do it. Get off the yo-yo dieting and take lean. Go to takelean.com. Use code Benson20, and you're going to save 20% on your first month. That is takelean.com, code Benson20. Takelean.com, code Benson20. A lot of you chiming in about all kinds of stuff. If you had to take a bite, wait, what are you talking about? Oh, they're talking about the mask. If you had to take a bite, we were talking about that earlier, right? You could take a bite if you had COVID. You're inside of a restaurant.
I went into a Waffle House, and there was a guy at the counter literally pulling his mask down to take a bite and then putting the mask back up. It's the stupidity of it was just amazing to me.
It is, again, the embarrassment of COVID and the way that we handled it. And I get, I don't originally, you don't know what it is. So let's find out what it is. There is a reason to have precaution because you want to find out exactly what it is to make sure what is going on here. How bad is this going to be? But once you start really finding it out, but nobody wants to be, the person in charge if millions of people die. Well, that didn't go well. So, and then it became about control from the local governments as much as anything else. And depending on where you were in what country, right? The country, it was good in some places. My buddy sent me something and goes, dude, you're missing some of the crazy stuff. I forgot about this. My buddy Jim, great guy, said Michigan banned seed sales because you might want to plant something. And California filled all the skate parks with sand.
That's right. Yeah, I forgot.
Just in case you pulled off an ollie, but during the middle of it, you got COVID.
Oh.
Good God, how embarrassing. Shame. And I saw that, what's his name, talked about the French Laundry. Gavin Newsom wants to be president of the United States. He talked about, well, yeah, that was kind of not the best thing around there because, they're closing things. And he's at the French Laundry, one of the probably 5 most exclusive restaurants on the planet with his friends. But it was a birthday party. Oh, okay. So COVID knew, hey, it's a birthday party, guys. We can't go in here.
Remember whenever Nancy tried to sneak and get a perm?
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Same thing with the mayor of Chicago.
Oh, jeez. That didn't help for either of them.
It didn't.
I stayed at a hotel during COVID. There were people in the swimming pool wearing masks.
Yes. I'll never forget. We were on vacation in North Carolina. The hotel we were staying at, we're sitting there at a table in the sun, and they required you to wear your mask to walk into the pool enclosure. However, once you're in the water, you can take the mask off.
Yeah, because they're figuring
well,
if you're
COVID can't survive over water.
Well, yeah.
Well, and they also think, man, if you're inside of a pool that's in a hotel, whatever's going on underwater, probably way deadlier.
It's crazy, man. It was just crazy.
That's the only way you describe it. Embarrassing. You're going to look
stupidity
back
from the highest order.
Yeah. And the rest of the world, too. That was the funny thing. The Swedes are like, because I said we need to follow what Sweden's doing. Herd immunity is the only way we're going to get to it. Once we knew that it wasn't the Ebola virus. Like I said, the Ebola virus, that's a different story. If that thing's flying around, we're all screwed. But it wasn't that. Once you realize what it was, the old, people had compromised immune systems, the rest of us get on with our lives. We couldn't. We didn't. And it doesn't mean that people, that as you guys well know, couldn't catch it and die. There's 20,000 people, is that what you said yesterday, that have died from the flu this year? 22,000 people. Think about that. Not all of them were compromised, immune, elderly. Some of them were healthy. So it happens. But, man, the embarrassment. Probably people went up to heaven and had you guys die. Embarrassment. It was not a good thing. Speaking of not a good thing, what to do with this guy from Columbia University? Because some people think he's actually from Colombia. He's not. He's Syrian-born, a Palestinian who has led many student protests at the prestigious Columbia University. He's a graduate student, and people are trying to figure out, can we just get rid of him? Because he is a potential terrorist. He is all these anti-Semite. He's all of these things. There's due process, and that is the issue that some people are very frustrated with. I'm a big fan of due process, by the way.
Calls continue to ring out for the release of pro-Palestinian activist Mahmoud Khalil. This after a federal judge has now blocked his deportation. Over the weekend, he was arrested by federal immigration authorities and then flown to an immigration jail in Louisiana. Now, he is a grad student here at Columbia. He's also a green card holder and is set to wrap up his studies in May and will go before a judge at the federal courthouse as his future in this country now weighs in the balance.
So a judge, as you heard our good buddy Ken in there say, a judge has put a hold on it. And the reason for that is, and you'll hear Caroline Leavitt say this.
Under the Immigration and Nationality Act, the Secretary of State has the right to revoke a green card or a visa for individuals who serve or are adversarial to the foreign policy and national security interests of the United States of America.
That is not true. Secretary of State cannot do that. We can't. Department of Homeland Security can look at stuff. They can recommend stuff. They can revoke if obviously it was here and he committed terrorist acts, then yes. But the Secretary of State doesn't have that power. And the green card that he holds is a permanent resident green card, which means he has almost the same rights as a citizen outside of voting and a few other things. He has those rights. So that means due process. So the judge has to be the one to go, yeah, you are all of the things that they say you are. You have sympathized, you have pushed propaganda, you're anti-Semitic on campus and threatened kids, and you took over I know they accused him of taking over a few of the buildings there and leading essentially a mini revolt on campus. But that's a judge has to decide that. And I'm okay with that. I don't like what he has said. I don't like the things he believes. But I am, and this isn't even about free speech, because you guys know how I feel about that. I'm a free speech absolutist. But I'm also about due process. And under the law, he has due process. And if we're going to ignore the law and decide we just got to get rid of this guy and anybody else like him, and we're just going to start snatching visas away from people, that's going to become a very ugly situation. And that's something I don't think any of us want, because we want it to be done correctly. Because if it's not done correctly, that is not a look that any of us want, because that starts to make us look like, oh, well, are we just going to end up, just deciding we're going to get rid of whoever we want to get rid of and screw the law, damn the law? Are we going to do that with everything? No. If this guy indeed has done what people said he has done and have accused him of, then through the evidence process, that will be found out in the court, and then the judge will say, hey, you got to go.
Under the immigration laws, there are extreme circumstances where someone's status can be reconsidered if they are aligned with, for example, a terrorist organization or an organization that's been designated a terrorist organization. It is not the case here that Mr. Khalil, that there's any evidence that he is aligned with a terrorist organization or is part of a terrorist organization. So this sort of goes back to the question of due process. Like, yes, statuses can be revoked, but typically when that happens, there's an entire legal process that is followed. And what is surprising here, alarming even, is that This is essentially the kind of strongman move that you've seen in other places where democracy has literally crumbled, places like Pinochet's Chile and things of that nature. This is not typically what we see in the United States, even in circumstances where we've had individuals whose statuses have been reconsidered and revoked.
Rod, you had Tom Homan.
Yeah. So a lot of you disagree with it, like it's my fault again, because that's it. I'm going to go find international. Somebody's like, you're wrong again. I have to go find international law. You're a libtard. Based on what? What is your findings? I'd like to know that.
Don't hurt people's feelings, Chad.
I don't really care about that. Look, I'm fine. If you've got other things, I mean, I'm just going by what, that I've read up and the experts are saying, not just me. But you do you, and I'm good with that. Not following the law. What were you trying to say is that it would make us look like Biden administration? I said, not following the law. I have no idea. I aligned myself with Jason. Who's always got some sort of crack. Visa is a privilege, not a right. That is correct. But once you have that visa as a permanent resident, remember, there are several different visas that you can get that become our green cards. The visa and green cards are different, but there are several different kinds that you have. This is a permanent resident, so he has a lot of the same rights as everybody else. And why don't you want due process? Imagine if you go to court and you show, A, that we do this right by going to court and following what is out there, and B, look at all the things this guy's done. Look at the things that he's advocated for. Look at the way that he has gone about subverting the school and the rules. And the school, you have a lot to say in this as well. You guys across the country have allowed students to run roughshod across the board on campuses because for whatever reason, you think that it's okay to be anti-Semitic? I've never really got that. Any other group, you'd lose your blanking mind. Any other group, you'd freak out. But this is the new fashion. This was always the new fashion thing. Because climate change came in and out. BLM was quite the fashion for a while. The LGBT thing, that's more of a winter, summer thing, depending on the time of the year. But then the whole thing with Israel and October 7th and Palestine, that was like, whoa, that was the internet. That was the fashion du jour. And then you let everybody run wild. And you let outside agitators on. Then you gave everybody a seat at the table, which was another ridiculous thing to do. No doubt about that. You get deported if you fake marry to get a green card. So how is that the same? I have no idea what you're talking about. I'm reading Title 22 as you were speaking. Cite your source. I am not finding a delineation in Title 22, different types of visas. Okay, I'll get that for you here in a second. Green card is not citizenship. That is correct. You guys are all fine. They're not citizenship, but the permanent green card, meaning he's a resident here, gives him more than, say, the just a typical, H1N1, H1B and some of these other things. And especially the student visa, which is what they went there to arrest him for. Because they thought he was on a student visa, then he wasn't. And they were like, oh, this is different. Wrap it up straight ahead. We got Matt. I see him walking around. He's got a hat on today. We're very hat-tacular in here. Chad Benson Show, Super Talk 99.7.
The way that we do
things. Here we go. We're live on the air. Look at this. We're talking here. Matt and I are doing stuff. We're live these things.
Hello.
Hello, everybody.
I'm just screaming and yelling.
What
are you doing?
Arguing with people. It's always fun. And again, they're like, we need to throw them out. There's due process. Like, I like due process.
Look, here's where I'm at on it, and I came up with a better way of saying it than I did last night. If you are angry that this person was able to get a permanent resident visa, a green card, I don't blame you. I'm angry too. We all should be angry. This guy doesn't love our country, and we need to look at how we vet people to get legal residency in the country.
He hates all of Western culture.
So I agree with you 100%, 1,000%, however many percent you want me to agree with you with. But you can't change it after the fact.
Yeah.
At this stage, you have to follow the rule of law, because if we don't have the rule of law, we don't have anything else.
Yeah.
If we don't have the rule of law, then you're going to have Democrats running roughshod over the law to come after you and me and anybody else they don't like.
And everybody's fine with that as long as they get what they want now, because we have an instantaneous society. You should throw them out because I don't like it. It doesn't work that way. And by the way, without due process, what do you think Trump would be?
And by the way, I think you're arguing, and I argued it last night, and I got raked for it, and that's fine, whatever. All I'm asking is that you go to a court, you tell a judge, hey, this is what he did to violate his permanent resident visa, and when the judge says, you're right, then you boot his ass out. That's it.
And the thing is, if you've proved that, how much better standing are you in with a lot of people? But if you just decide to kick him out, not only have you made him a martyr, you've also now given the Democrats impetus in the future to do what you just said.
That's right.
People don't understand that.
Well, a lot of them do.
A lot of them do.
I mean, I understand the emotions of the moment because we hate it, and I hate the fact that we've allowed, we have valued the loose nature of our immigration system above vetting people to make sure that they're going to love and be good for this country. You know, Senator Jeff Sessions was a great United States senator. He was not so good as Attorney General, but he's a fine man, and he said it for years. There is nothing wrong with having an immigration system that asks the question, is this going to be good for the United States of America first?
Nothing wrong.
There's nothing wrong with that.
That's a wonderful thing.
Right? And if the answer to that is Chad Benson, immigrant from Ubabe, or, you know,
from Chad, actually. I'm from Chad.
Oh, from Chad. Chad from Chad. If you ask that question first, is he going to be a benefit to the United States of America? And if we answer yes to that, then we can get to all of the other stuff.
Yes.
But if we answer no,
then none of the other stuff matters.
None of the other stuff matters.
I agree. Look, and I said this isn't even about free speech, because as a resident, as a permanent resident, he has the right to free speech. He has pretty much the right to everything else that's there. If he was just on a visa, then he could be removed lickety-split. Yeah. But this is a much different thing. And they're like, they want to use this law, and so can use that. DHS has the right, but already the court stepped in and said, no, you can't do that. I'm the judge. You don't get to override what I get to say.
Well, and I don't want to beat them by being them. And the Democrats ignore the law when it benefits them, and they use it as a shield when it benefits them. And that's all well and good. I don't want to be them.
No.
I've never wanted to be them. So, you know. And then that and the CR thing is just, I mean, it's wearing me out.
No,
both things are wearing me out.
Like the Thomas Massey thing, really, you know. I know people don't like Massey, and he's this and he's that, and he's a never Trumper, and
I mean, he was kind of a never Trumper, then he backed off of it, and whatever. I mean, his relationship with Trump notwithstanding, Thomas Massey is elected by the citizens of his district.
And a lot of those people love him.
And they will determine whether or not they feel like he is acting in the best interest of his district. I don't know that I don't believe that if we're in a card game, I don't necessarily know that the Republicans have the cards to play right now, because, as you've well said, we're dealing with a continuing resolution that had to do with a budget that was supposed to be done last September.
Yes. And
it hasn't been done yet.
No.
So if this is the hill we want to die on, okay, I mean, that's fine. The Democrats don't care. You're playing with kamikaze pilots.
Oh, that's it. Well, they have nothing to lose. They have only to gain. They're already starting at zero. They can't go any further than zero.
And they believe, and I think they're calculating this a little bit wrong, because forever, for our lifetime, the mainstream media has allowed the Democrats to blame the Republicans for every government shutdown or every threat of a government shutdown. It's always the Republicans' fault. I think they're banking on that, too, that the mainstream media, the legacy media, will do that again. I think this circumstance is a little bit different, but at the same time, even if they're blamed, they don't care.
No, they don't care.
Because their voters are stupid.
The Republicans have everything, so this is kind of lands in your... And Chuck Schumer's wary of them getting blamed for it, and he doesn't want to be seen as obstructionist. But as I said, you got Thomas Massey. We also have Rand Paul.
Well,
Rand
and
Paul's
I think you need 60 in the Senate.
You do.
You need 60 in the Senate, and I don't know that you get...
No.
I don't know. I mean, if you lose Rand, I don't know that you get 8 Democrats.
No, I don't think so. Not at this moment in time, unless Chuck really does some arm pulling. No doubt about that. What are you talking about? This stuff too?
I'm talking about this stuff. Talking a little local politics. I'm gonna dig into Williamson County just a little bit from a local perspective, and also going to talk about budgets in the city of Nashville. By the way, you're not getting any fancy buses anytime soon because the federal money's not coming. That's coming.
Oh my God, that's straight ahead. It is the Chad Benson Show. You guys have a good day, even those who hate me. Super Talk 99.7.